A spooky macabre house is all shrouded in fog. Inside, there's a dude nursing a burn on his leg, pleading for just a little more time. In front of him stands a guy who looks like he just stepped out of a mafia flick, the one responsible for his first-degree burn, casually tossing around threats about debts. If someone owes me money, he says they might as well sell a few organs to pay up. The nut job with the scar running across his eyes chimes in, insisting the poor guy needs to experience a bit more pain. Just to truly grasp the agony of not getting your cash back. The woman lurking behind him seems glued to her phone. As if on cue, the mafioso does a double take, snatches her phone from her hands like it's a donut at a diet convention, shocking the life out of her. He grills her about whether she was dialing up the cops, and then scoffs, claiming it wouldn't help anyway. Upon peeking at the phone screen, surprise hits him like a ton of bricks. She was actually texting her son, saying she couldn't chat right now and under no circumstances should he come home. The lunatic smirks, thinking instead of taking it out on her, how about making her kid the target? She lets out a desperate scream, begging them not to touch her little angel, while two goons hold her back like she's a piñata. The mafioso commands his henchmen to silence the pair before they can squeal. He sarcastically quips about not wanting to hurt her son whilst she's being hogtied. Suddenly, the door swings open and the mafioso, sporting a crazed grin, announces that the son has arrived. A boy clad in a school uniform with a backpack is hovering at the door, hand on the knob, looking thoroughly uninterested, possibly sad. Gradually, the door creaks open. The mother, gagged and bound, mentally screams for him not to waltz in. As the door reaches almost halfway open, tension fills the room like awkward silence at a family dinner. The boy steps inside and is greeted by an eerie empty house, since the armed goons are hiding behind the walls like bad magicians. Calmly, he kicks off his shoes and plops down his backpack. As he tiptoes through the house in his socks like a ninja, you can almost hear a pin drop. Out of nowhere, a red-haired thug jumps out from behind a wall, taking a swing with a bat aimed straight at his skull. The hit connects at the back of the boy's head. The mother witnesses the whole scene and starts sobbing, hopelessly frozen. But hold on, the henchman realizes the bat has suddenly turned into a limp noodle. In a jaw-dropping twist, the boy retaliates with a bone-crushing punch right to the henchman's face. Down he goes, crashing to the floor like a champ, looking like he just lost a wrestling match. Everyone is left slack-jawed, processing what just happened. The mafioso, dressed in white, is starting to look like he's about to pass out from fear, thinking, what on earth is this kid made of, radiating an aura that screams, "Don't mess with me"? The boy glares with a clenched fist. The boss hastily commands his goons to take the kid down before he can cause any more chaos. The boy ducks just in time to dodge a bat swing from behind and swiftly delivers a solid punch right into one thug's ribs. The impact is so mighty, it's like breaking a piñata with a sledgehammer. The guy winces and spits out his drink, completely dazed and in agony. The boy, sensing an opening, strikes again in the same spot, further ruining the guy's day. The man screams, his face morphing into a comically desperate mask of pain. The boy notices an incoming kick from another thug and, displaying reflexes sharper than a superhero, sidesteps it effortlessly. In retaliation, he kicks the man's knee, eliciting cries of torment and agony. A blonde thug decides to join the fray, wielding a chair like a weapon of mass destruction. The hit slams directly into the boy's head, but he just stares at the blonde like he's trying to remember where he left his keys. The thug's face turns pale, horrified to see the chair splintering into pieces, while the kid remains unfazed. In a split second, he grabs that blonde thug and sends him flying across the room, smashing into a wall, like a scene from a cartoon, leaving the boss wide-eyed and agape with shock. Overwhelmed with fear, the mafioso bellows, "What kind of monster is this?" He furiously pulls out a knife, sneering at the tied-up hostages with venom. Mocking the boy, he asks, "Can your dad still walk after a beatdown?" Out of nowhere, a hot iron comes flying straight at the mafia guy, catching him off guard. The boy smashes it right into the mafioso's face, serving him a dish of instant karma. Parents watch, utterly mesmerized by the sight. The camera zooms in on the enemy's head, now plastered in the wall. Meanwhile, the mafioso starts whining about his neck hurting, like he's just been to a bad chiropractor. He yells to someone to call 119 and barks, "Is anyone even out there?" We can see that the boy has now taken down each and every goon. Breathing heavily, he begins to recover from the intense skirmish. His dad watches with pride, while his mom shuts her eyes, relieved just a smidge. The boy, being the little hero he is, loosens his parents' bonds, asking them if they don't want him to fight. Well, they really shouldn't be so broke. Then, out of nowhere, he collapses to the floor. His mother screams his name in sheer panic, Kang Sun Wu. Moments later, a large hospital building comes into view. Inside, people are shrieking and groaning in pain like a bad pop concert. A well-dressed guy in a suit and glasses lounges at the hospital reception, curious about the madness going down. The girl fills him in on the buzz. A loan shark snatched a guy's parents, and wouldn't you know it, a high schooler defeated 10 henchmen all by himself. The man's jaw hits the floor. He can't believe the chaos. Meanwhile, the loan shark is barking orders at his gang to finish the kid off. One of his lackeys, however, pipes up that Kang is actually the one footing the hospital bill. A blonde guy announces that the black bear is coming, and it looks like the protagonist is toast. The man at the front desk's ears perk up at the name Black Bear. "Where's the room with the high school student?" he inquires. "Room 202, replies the receptionist. With that, he sprints towards the room, muttering as he goes that if the Black Bear is in the vicinity, he might just be the perfect candidate for a fighter, and hey, this could really help him assess that candidate's prowess. Arriving at the room door, the suit guy looks down at a plaque that reads Kang and sighs, saying, "And here I thought I was staying out of trouble." Peeking through the small door window, he shakes his head, feeling a tad sorry for the student. Inside that room, we see Kang matched up against an absurdly tall and muscular guy, something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The Black Bear declares, They thought they'd call him some random high school punk. He adds that Kang shouldn't blame him, but he's got debts to settle. The bear stares at him and remarks that the protagonist is quite a character because even after seeing the giant monster, he's not flinching. Kane pulls the IV from his arm, gearing up for a showdown. The monster boasts that he has to show the kid what real fear looks like and raises his hand to strike. Kang responds faster than light with a powerful punch right to his face. That suited guy is still peeping through the window, saying, "This kid is lightning fast." The bald brute easily brings the protagonist down with just one hand, leaving him flat on the ground. Kang feels the slam as he hits the floor like a ton of bricks. The guy in the suit, still watching, smirks, claiming as expected the bear would come out on top. The monster cackles that no matter how nuts Kang is, if he swings at him, it's lights out for him, insisting Kang is just another average guy who's gonna kick the bucket. With a look of disbelief, the bear wonders how Kang is even getting back up. The protagonist snaps back that the bear talks way too much for someone who's really a nobody. The guy is fuming, all riled up by the kid's taunts. He declares that's exactly what makes finishing someone off entertaining and rushes at the boy with a maniacal grin. The man at the door questions whether he's really gonna off the kid and insists he needs to put a stop to this nonsense right now. Kang ducks the hit, leaving the bear thoroughly bewildered. He retaliates with a spectacular kick to the bald guy's face. The guy observing just cannot believe his eyes. After taking that hit, the bald guy's face is all mashed up and he crashes to the ground. He claims he's never heard of the black bear ever getting knocked down, but the man refuses to back down and leaps back up mad as a hornet. Still watching, he remarks that as expected, there's no way someone known as the King of Muscles would go down without a fight. The muscle man sneers at Kang, asking if he really believed he'd fall after taking a kick from just a student. But Kang swiftly delivers a solid punch to his gut. The guy by the door mutters that none of this makes any sense whatsoever. Kang follows up with another smackingly strong punch. The bear looks dazed after those hits, but he still grabs a hold of Kang with his massive arms and squeezes him tight. He claims he'll have to unleash his best move on a high school kid. Alarmed, the man watching declares that's the infamous black bear's signature move, the bone crusher, and insists the monster presses the boy against him with full force. He exclaims like a lunatic that the protagonist is starting to resemble a joke. Finally, the suited man bursts into the room, ordering the bear to halt, but the muscle-headed guy doesn't let up and squeezes even harder, trapping the boy in a vice-like grip. The guy trying to intervene is now freaking out over the whole ordeal. An eerie silence envelops the room, and everyone's frozen in the tension. Suddenly, the bear is taken aback, wondering if his senses have gone numb, but reassures himself they haven't. He's using his full strength. Kang shifts and places his hand on his shoulder, startling the dude with the boy's surprising resilience. He wonders out loud why the kid is still moving, and how his bones haven't turned to dust. Furious, he squeezes the boy's body with all he's got, insisting this time he'll give it his all. Kang slowly starts to rise back up from the dreadful blow, and the muscle-bound man questions again why the kid hasn't shattered yet. The protagonist is actually gearing up to deliver a monstrous headbutt to the bald dude's face. On the floor, the man wonders if the boy reinforced his bones with metal or something ridiculous. Kang delivers another headbutt, probably packing even more punch than the last, completely smashing the man's face. After the brutal blows, the guy's face is a disaster zone. With an array of wild headbutts, the boy keeps on going with relentless determination. The suited guy yells for him to stop because the bear is already out cold. He tells Kang to take a breather. He adds that if this chaos escalates, cleaning up, the aftermath will be a nightmare. He makes a call stating that in room 202 Building B, a guy has suffered a craniac injury from a car accident. Kang queries who he is and questions if he's in league with the criminal. Seriously, the man suggests that if this is the case, he might want to propose a sort of partnership with the protagonist. Kang shoots back immediately, asking what kind of nonsense he's talking about. A bunch of folks in bizarre outfits and carrying shady gear suddenly enter the room. Everyone stares at the black bear's body sprawled out on the ground. They look to the suited man, asking if they should wrap it up. The man queries one of the oddly dressed people if they can conclude that the bear won't wake up anytime soon, and they respond that they'll start the process. Kang silently watches them work, trying to grasp what the heck is happening. He looks annoyed, clearly lost in the situation. The man in the suit hands him a card saying the contact on it is someone who can provide exactly what he's searching for. Kang takes the card and examines it, still baffled by everything that's gone down. The man asserts that all Kang has to do is fight for the one he serves. On the card, there's a siren-like symbol. Kang crushes the card and tells him to shove it, clearly fed up with all this craziness. He stands up, walks out, chucks the card in the trash, and declares he's not interested in making money by throwing punches. As he leaves, he wonders what kind of scam this guy was trying to pull on him. Watching him walk away, the man remarks that the kid has solid judgment, but that such a mentality could flip at any given moment. Later in the bathroom, the protagonist washes his. He claims that if this escalates, cleaning up will be tough. He makes a call stating that in room 202 Building B, a guy has suffered a cranial injury from an accident. Kang wonders who he is and questions if he's in on the criminal action. Seriously, the man suggests a partnership with the protagonist if that's how things are going down. Kang immediately inquires about what kind of partnership this guy has in mind. A group of peculiar-looking people with dubious equipment enters the room. Everyone gawks at the black bear's body lying on the ground. They ask the suited man if they should wrap this up now. The man turns to one of the strangely clad folks and queries if they can assume the bear won't regain consciousness soon, and they reply that they'll kick things off. Kang just observes them work silently and ponders what on earth is going on. He looks perturbed, clearly not following any of this. Handing a card to the boy, the man in the suit claims that the contact on it can provide what he's after. Kang takes the card and studies it, still in a daze over the whole affair. The man states that all Kang needs to do is fight for the one he's working for. The card bears some symbol with a siren. Kang crushes it and tells the man to shove off, exuding clear irritation at the unfolding events. He gets up and exits, tossing the card in the trash, stating he's not about to make cash by brawling. As he vacates, he questions what kind of scam the guy attempted to run on him. Observing him depart, the man opines that the boy has good discernment, but such a mindset could easily flip on a dime. Later in the bathroom, the protagonist washes his. After that crazy brawl, he's got his game face on. He admits that his life is totally bonkers, but he's still on a mission to make his mom proud, who just wants him to stop throwing punches. A dude in a brown coat, probably the kid's dad, swings open the bathroom door and asks what the kid is up to. Still leaning against the doorframe, the guy questions where Kang thinks he's heading in that state. The kid shoots back, asking what he means by that state. Fuming, the kid demands to know who the heck he thinks is responsible for his mess. He gives his dad the side-eye and asks why he didn't step up if he was once a boxing champ and how he ended up neck-deep in debt. Kang, still seeing red, rants about how his dad's champion pride is only good for impressing the locals, and he has no clue why he got booted from the national team. He caps off his rant by yelling that his dad's useless pride takes precedence over his mom's health, the poor woman's sick and frail. The old man stands there in silence. As Kang storms out, his dad reminds him not to even think about bouncing from the hospital. Still staring at the door, Kang grumbles about how much he hates all of this. Out of nowhere, he starts to feel woozy. He crashes to the ground, clutching his head and moaning about the pain. He wonders if he's been skimping on sleep, but then adds that whenever he sees his dad, his head always spins. With a frown, he mutters to himself that he can't stand his old man who barely brings in any cash and is always beat up. Kang rants about how his dad would grovel to the parents of the bullies he wrecked, and he refuses to rely on him for anything. The kid insists he doesn't want to buy into the idea that his father believes he did everything right, but it feels like he's digging himself deeper into a hole. He thinks about how, as a high school kid who can't even hop on a fishing boat, changing his life feels like an impossible feat, especially when he can't even scrape together enough cash for everyday bills. We see a gang of boys calling him to join, but Kang bolts, claiming he's busy. Then, in a flashback, he remembers some punks trashing his motorcycle and lamenting how screwed he is. Thanks to these nighttime bullies, his dad's debt has ballooned. He also says he can't leave home because he doesn't want to bail on his mom. He wraps up with a heartbreaking declaration that his life is one major mess. Next, we find Kang waking up on a stretcher stuck in some patient pajamas. He's wondering if he's zonked out again and how in the world they moved him to a different room. Picking up his phone, he's curious about how long he's been out. He sees a message from his dad and thinks it's a bit odd. In the message, his father claims it's finally time to spill all the beans to Kang that very night. The kid wonders what else the guy has been keeping secret. After that, he checks for messages from his mom. He dials her up, seeking updates on how his beloved family is doing. When she picks up, he checks in and asks if everything's cool. The woman warns Kang not to come home because there are goons lurking there, and it's way too risky shocking the boy. She adds that he should stick around where he is, since she switched his room, changed his name, and that should keep him safe. He asks where his mom is. She replies that she is hiding at a motel near a police station and insists he shouldn't worry about her before saying she can't stay on the phone for long. The lady tells Kang not to move around for now and that she's got to hang up. The boy stands there after the call ends, feeling furious with himself for dragging her into this mess. He bolts out saying he's got to find his mom first. Suddenly his phone starts buzzing and he sees it's his dad calling. Kang picks up and greets the man, but on the other line. Someone asks if he's Mr. Kang's kid. The boy confirms it and inquires about the guy's identity. The man somberly mentions something bad went down and the protagonist's dad has collapsed and is out cold. The kid is stunned by the news. We get a glimpse of the protagonist's father lying on the ground, all banged up after collapsing with a couple of his buddies hovering over him. Later in the intensive care unit, we see Kang by his dad's bedside who's all wrapped up in bandages. The guy's unconscious and hooked up to machines. A doctor chimes in saying the surgery is a total nightmare and just the operation alone costs over $100 million, not counting the pricey treatment for the following years. Kang breaks down crying over the crushing predicament his father is in. The boy sobs in a corner, losing himself in a wave of regret. He blames himself for the situation and seems to wish he could take back everything he said and done to his own dad. He feels utterly lost, not sure what to do, but then he has a flashback about the offer made by the guy in the suit and the card he tossed. He darts out saying he must find that room where he tossed away the red card. He rushes back to the same spot, room 202, where he fought the black bear, flinging open the door after sprinting like crazy to get there as fast as possible. He drops to his knees, frantically searching for the card as a last-ditch effort. Unfortunately, he comes up empty, and the protagonist starts beating himself up again in a fit of despair. Crying, he apologizes to his father, saying there's nothing he can do. In deep misery, he laments that it would have been better if he hadn't made it through. In a final flicker of hope, the same man in the suit pops up at the door, asking if Kang is by any chance searching for the card. He inquires if the kid's having second thoughts. The protagonist quickly fires back, asking what kind of payment the dude can offer him. The man claims he'll earn at least $10 billion, and Kang's jaw drops at the figure. The guy adds that even if he doesn't come out on top, he'll still score some serious popularity, and the guy claims he's going to rake in at least $10 billion, and Kang's jaw drops at that figure. Then the same dude adds that even if he doesn't snag a win, he'll still be a local celebrity. Asks if Kang will join him for a boatload of cash. In another room, they're sitting across from each other at a table. The suited dude tells the protagonist to take his sweet time signing the papers. As Kang reads the document, he spots the name Fighting Ward Strange and asks what that's all about. The suit replies it's a back alley fighting tournament. The combatants are basically monsters on steroids, thanks to some illegal enhancements. The protagonist declares he's not about to touch that forbidden substance known as doping. Then, the man whips out a suitcase loaded with vials filled with colorful liquids. He insists that this isn't just your run-of-the-mill doping. Depending on the type, it could give a soon-to-be-gone dude superhuman strength. But he adds, of course, using doping is totally up to you. Kang yells, "Who the heck are you anyway?" The man sheepishly states he's Kim Minuk and works for a VIP client of the fighting ward. He says that right now what really matters is the whole doping issue. Kim mentions that not a single winner has ever walked away without using some kind of doping. Kang replies, "I just told you I'm not using it," and the guy suggests he should at least hear the plan out before throwing punches. In his mind, the protagonist is steaming, thinking how Kim clearly is not getting the hint. Kim lays out the deal. If Kang cracks the top 20 fighters, he can snag a sponsor. That means he can choose the VIP Kim works for to throw money at him and make a run for victory. Simple enough, right? Kang says he's in, but just hand over the cash, cause that's all he really wants. Kim raises an eyebrow and tells him it's a problem because he only gets paid if he tosses himself into the tournament. Kang is flabbergasted and asks if this guy is pulling his leg and whether he's actually got to work with him. Kim urges him to chill out and asks if the cash he needs is to keep his family safe and sound. Kang looks perplexed and wonders who this dude thinks he is and what he's talking about. Kim assures him that as long as the champ fights for his boss, his family is safe. His dad's hospital bills are covered, and the debt collectors will stay the heck away from them. The kid immediately wonders how he's supposed to trust Kim already. Suddenly his mother calls and he jumps to answer. He asks if she's okay, fearing the worst. She tells him Kane covered his dad's medical bills and even sent bodyguards to keep him secure. Kane is left speechless in that unexpected moment, and Kim claims a safe house is being set up where his father can rest in peace. The man adds there's not much else to worry about since the protagonist doesn't have many options. Kang tells his mom that everyone there was sent by him, and he insists he has to hang up but will catch her later. His mother calls out his name in worry, but he just reassures her he'll call back. Kane feels a wave of relief as the family drama settles a bit. He asks what all this is and whether it's coming out of that 19 billion amount. But Kim laughs and says the 10 billion is just the starting point, and Kang's jaw drops because, depending on how many bets are placed on him, that total could skyrocket, and with a win, he could make up to 15 billion. Kang exclaims that's bonkers, but the suit clarifies it's not impossible. He adds for top-tier fighters, that kind of cash is practically chump change. Kang is utterly flabbergasted to hear that, but he also finds out some average competitors might flop or even bite the dust. And factually, only 10% of the preliminary fighters leave the tournament in one piece. Kang can't believe it. So many lose their lives, and yet this fighting ward stays hidden. Kim nods, affirming that's exactly why it's a secret. Even those who die are kept under wraps, and Kang gets the chills. With a firm finger pointing at the line, he tells the boy to sign the paper right there. That's the first step towards crafting a death alibi. The protagonist's heart races with fear upon hearing alibi. Kim grins, saying the hospital sponsors the tournament because it's the perfect place for brewing fake death stories. He claims they can plant a camera and make a purchase in someone's name, and there's no death they can't fake. The kid asks what happens if he spills the beans and what they do to him. Kim smirks, saying it wouldn't be tough to paint him as a lunatic on heavy meds who would believe something like that. He reassures him not to sweat it because he'd be pronounced dead before ever having a chance to rat anyone out. And the boy protests that this is pure insanity. Staring him down, Kim declares this is the beauty of the hospital system. He reiterates this is a decision solely for the protagonist Kang Sun Wu and asks if he's going to sign, putting on a look that says he's been at this game a while. He adds, some folks take days to figure out how to answer that. Kang tells Kim to just keep his promise and sits down to put pen to paper. The man suddenly flashes an incredibly wicked grin as he watches Kang pick up that document. Out of nowhere, a nurse sneaks up behind Kang and he questions her, but she unexpectedly jabs a syringe into his neck, leaving him dazed. He yanks the needle out and angrily demands to know what in the world is happening. The effects hit him fast, and the boy starts to drift into unconsciousness. Kim looks apologetic but says it's just a little anesthesia to whisk him off to the arena. He tells Kang to keep in mind his family's safety hinges on him fighting in the tournament. After a bit, the young man begins to wake up to a blinding light and a figure in front of him wondering if he's dead because this is one bizarre situation. A nurse sneaks up on Kang from behind and he gives her a puzzled look, but out of nowhere she sticks a syringe into his neck, leaving him baffled. He yanks the needle out and fuming demands to know what's going on. The stuff kicks in fast and the kid keels over. Kim apologizes and explains it's just some anesthesia to prep him for the big showdown. He advises Kang to remember that his family will only be safe if he throws down in the tournament. After a bit, the young man starts stirring awake to some glaring light and a shadow hovering in his vision. He wonders if he's kicked the bucket because this feels just too bizarre. He opens his eyes wide and spots a dude in funky clothes, mentally wondering what kind of circus he's stumbled into. Suddenly, he hears a bunch of noise from people pouring in through a door. The lad lying on a stretcher asks the guy where the heck he is. The dude just says, "Shh, keep it moving. You'll find out soon enough what this place really is." He ends with a spooky look, adding, "Welcome to hell." In another building, we catch two guys chatting it up. One of them is the vice leader of the Hosen group, Chia Yan Wu. He looks over at Kim, who's hanging out with him, and asks if this really makes any sense at all. He's checking out a photo of Kang and asks if a young high school kid is truly their new rep because he managed to take down the Black Bear. Kim nods and says even that Vice President Hinam cracked up when he first heard it. A bit annoyed, Yen asks, "Why's that?" Kim replies he needs the Vice President to underestimate them because of Kang, no matter how wacky that sounds. Yen raises an eyebrow, asking if he's really suggesting that with just this one student, they could take down Hagnam. Kim says they checked Kang out after the Black Bears moved the Bone Crusher. He adds the boy's in better shape than anyone could even dream of. The vice leader's jaw drops, clearly taken aback. Meanwhile, we see Kang waking up, and whoa, a dude kicks him right in the face. He jumps up, surprised by the scene. Then a guy in a wacky uniform points a gun at the guy in black, telling him to back off. The guy's like, "Chill, it was just a joke," and steps back. Suddenly, a drone speaks up, telling Kang to rise and shine, saying the registration is all set. Kang's like, "What on earth is this?" Slowly coming to reality, he's pondering where he is and why he's rocking that weird uniform. The drone warns that the first random battle is about to kick off, and Kang's nerves kick in. The system announces that their first match will pit 200 fighters in the main battle arena. It goes on about how this is the doping test system, and each fighter has received a random shot to enhance their powers, while VIPs are watching and betting on the outcomes. Kang's opponent grabs his doping shot to use it, but Kang's like, "Nah, I've broken promises before, like not fighting others, especially to my mom, but I won't break the one about these shady drugs." Suddenly, he hears a scream behind him and jumps. Looking back, he sees his opponent's doping syringes lying amidst a bloodbath. Then he sees his rival all bulked up and looking like a monster, completely losing control. With a scary face and an insane purple aura, he brags about his power doping. Kang's like, "What on earth is happening?" In a flash, the opponent leaps and tries a double kick. Kang dodges just in time while the blow leaves a huge crack in the wall. Kang's like, "What kind of beast am I dealing with here?" The enemy's physique looks massive, muscular, and downright bizarre. He wonders how those muscles popped up out of nowhere. Meanwhile, the camera drone hovers around as the rich folks watch the fight from afar. The drone announces that fighter Han Cha has successfully boosted his power. Han says he hit the jackpot with that doping boost, claiming his luck's through the roof. He also adds that he's dying to leave this joint and crush all the guys who used to poke fun at him for being a skinny twig. Out of nowhere, he leaps at Kang, vowing to annihilate this little brat standing in front of him. With a smirk, Kang punches him right in the kisser. Taking on a boxing stance, he readies himself for a brawl. Han's like, "Are you kidding me? You think you can look down on me?" Kang realizes his reaction speed is high, but hasn't improved from doping. He decides to take it slow and look for a chance to strike. Suddenly, Han charges at him with lightning speed, catching him off guard. He lands a clean punch on Kang's noggin, sending him face first into the ground. He thinks he can't afford any mistakes against a monster like that. Kang tries to kick him from an odd angle, but Han spots him and flashes a sarcastic grin. Then he delivers a direct hit that sends Kang flying. You can see the pain written all over Kang's face after those two hits. Han grabs Kang's leg mid-air, saying, "No need to figure out this kid's moves. He'll just rely on pure muscle to take me down." The monster, with a firm grip on Kang, throws him down hard. Kang ends up with a body full of bruises after the barrage of hits. Han cackles at the boy, saying he's crushing his spirit. He preps to jump, eager to see how much he can shatter a person. He leaps with such force that he cracks the ground beneath him. Mid-air, he declares that no puny opponents will drive him away. With a crazy look, he states he's the king now. Then he crashes down with a mighty kick aimed at Kang, who's unable to defend himself. Han boasts that the best part of breaking people is definitely the ribs. He keeps his foot pressed down on Kang, who lies there helpless. We flash back to Kim's conversation with the deputy chief, where it's concluded that Kang's bone structure is 10 times tougher than an average Joe's. Then he comes crashing down again with another powerful kick on Kang, who has zero means to defend himself. Han states once more that the best part of breaking people is definitely the ribs. He continues to keep his foot on Kang, who remains helpless on the ground. In that flashback of Kim's conversation with the deputy chief, we see them conclude that Kang's bone structure is indeed 10 times stronger than a regular person's. The kid jumps back into the fray by grabbing Han's foot, which totally catches him off guard. The little guy slams a sweet kick right to the opponent's chin, sending him reeling. Han tries to get revenge by snatching Kang's leg, but Kang's not having it and slips away like a pro. He quickly hops back, putting some space between himself and Han. Han questions how Kang is pulling this off without any illegal substances, then figures it must be his own enhancement wearing off. Kang notices that as the fight drags on, Han is running out of steam. Kang hatches a plan to maintain his distance while throwing quick jabs aiming right for Han's face. He approaches with caution. Han spots him and launches an attack. Thinking the kid is rushing in blindly, the kid ducks just in time, evading Han with some serious agility before landing a snappy punch to his face, catching him off guard. But Han retaliates, aiming for Kang's torso with a swing of his other arm. Kang sees it coming, dodges like a champ, and delivers another punch square to Han's face. Han stumbles back, baffled by the speed and power of the hits. Without a moment to breathe, he eats another one right in the kisser. He can't comprehend what's going on. He can't wrap his head around the boy's blinding speed. Spotting a golden opportunity, Kang gears up to unleash a brutal punch with his right fist, but Han gets a grip on him in a flash, wrapping both hands around him. He grins, saying he's got Kang and he's having a ball. Han didn't even realize he let Kang take a swing on purpose, whereas the boy claims he allowed himself to get grabbed. Han is confused and asks what Kang is rambling about. Kang asks if Han knows how kangaroos lock onto their targets before unleashing their powerful kicks, and just like that, he snaps off a double-footed kick straight to Han's face. The impact leaves Han's face all disfigured. He crashes backward, unable to get his defense up. He mumbles he can't feel his body and wonders what on earth just happened. He gets furious at his own body for failing to react. He can't fathom how he's being taken down by some kid who hasn't even used any enhancements. Glancing around, he spots the doping substances meant for Kang. He quickly snatches up the sirens as Kang watches, fully anticipating Han's next move. Han bolts forward, trying to cut off Kang. The kid springs into the air, geared up to land a thunderous kick. But, to his misfortune, Han injects those doping sirens directly into his noggin. The system chimes in, announcing the stamina enhancement has been successfully applied. Han then leaps and charges at Kang with a body slam he can't possibly defend against. The kid takes the full brunt, hitting the ground hard. Han hoists him above his head and asks if he's ever met a skinny punk before. Without a second thought, Han slams him down with force, shattering the floor into bits. Kang is left completely wrecked from the hit. A drone hovers closer, scanning his battered form. Han shoos the drone away, saying it's not over yet, as he inches closer to Kang. He starts choking Kang and remarks that he's been waiting for this moment after all the receiving. He coldly states that for punks like Kang, he's going to cut off his air completely. Just before blacking out, Kang remembers his dad. In a moment of desperation, the kid headbutts Han right in the face, leaving him dazed on the ground. The drone announces that the game is over for the player who just got schooled. Meanwhile, Kim and the vice leader watch the fight's conclusion, questioning how Han got taken out. Kim explains he actually kicked the bucket after injecting a hefty dose of enhancements into himself. He shares that the chances of surviving after mixing two substances is barely a fraction. 5%. From the moment Kang knocked Han out with the power doping and Han injected the stamina doping into his own brain, he was doomed from the start, the vice leader admits. Kim's one lucky guy, since Han essentially wrote his own defeat. The guy muses that it might be luck, but he doubts that's the right way to view it, since Kang's body is just plain odd. Well, the Vice points out it might not just be because his bones are tough. Acknowledging this place is filled with people with crazy powers, Kim notes that the enhancement substances can beef up muscles, organs, hormones, and more. But there's one thing they can't enhance: the bones. And there's definitely something uniquely special about Kang. The Vice states it's obvious Kang's one of those who made it through, ready to move on to the next round, and asks what the next step is. Kim replies that since Kang passed the doping exam, he's been receiving urgent medical care. After that, he'll meet the monsters who also survived and progress to the next stage. People who might have acquired all sorts of crazy powers in that place. In the training room of the fighting ward, Kang sits on a machine looking a bit lost in the whole ordeal. He's distraught, questioning if Han really met his end because of him. He insists no, he just meant to knock him out. Otherwise, he'd be the one in trouble. But the kid recalls that he's the only one who can rescue his mom and dad. The same drone from earlier zooms back in front of him and pauses to scan. The device chimes in, announcing that participants who advance must proceed to the hall. A fellow that if he follows the guide, all his questions will be answered, and Kang will be all right. He warns Kang that all drones are armed to the teeth, and that he shouldn't pull any stupid stunts. He just wanted to give that guy a taste of defeat, but he realizes he'd be the one facing the end if he didn't. Yet the kid remembers he's the only one who can rescue his mom and dad. Suddenly, that same drone from before floats back in front of him, halting to watch. The device starts yapping, saying that participants who make it past this round need to head to the main hall. A dude hanging there claims if Kang follows the guide, all his questions will be answered, and he'll be just fine. He warns that all the drones come loaded with serious weaponry, so Kang better not pull any foolish stunts. Kang begins strolling, shadowing the guide through the maze of hallways. He wonders what kind of twisted place this is. He figures it's got to be an underground lair with no escape in sight. He gets a bit annoyed because he wishes he could just call his mom to see how she's doing. The guy remembers Kim's last vow that as long as he entered the fighting zone, his family would be all right. He muses that the fights aren't what he pictured. These folks are way too powerful. They're basically monsters. At least the street punks here are at that level. But the nastiest monsters would all be gathered in one spot. The guide announces the main hall door is now flung wide open. Upon entering, he's greeted by a dazzling flash. Several drones zoom in the air, zeroing in on him. One chimes in that all players have gathered in the main hall, and the game will kick off with 124 participants. This is where we spot an array of fighters, all shapes and sizes, in one place. The system claims the opening summary will be brief and will play on the screen ahead. Kane glances at the competitors and remarks they're all absolute beasts. He adds that they're on a completely different level compared to the kid he squared off with in the first round. The young man thinks he shouldn't get dragged into pointless squabbles and should just wait for the real matches to hit. A dude next to him hollers and asks how he got there, then casually suggests a little tussle. Kang retorts that he should have ditched his school uniform and feels the summary better start soon. Some guys are spreading the rumor that Kang snatched victory because his opponent went overboard with something, while another guy insists there's no way he's on any performance-enhancing stuff. They speculate that judging by his getup, the wealthy spectators in the fighting ward must be snickering while placing bets on him, expecting a real cringe fest. One guy suggests they might as well. One of the men advises him to keep a low-profile walk, quietly look around carefully, and avoid eye contact. Kang brushes it off and keeps striding, but someone else calls him out. A tall guy wants a word with him before things really get rolling. Tiptoe like a ninja, scan those sidelines and avoid eye contact like it's contagious. Kang acts like he's on a mission and keeps strutting along, but then someone else yells at him. A towering dude says he's got a couple of questions for the kid before the show kicks off. The kid is already ticked off because he's not looking for drama. The man warns that if Kang doesn't spill the beans, he'll make him pay. The boy suddenly realizes if he wants to survive among these wild cards, he has to be just as nuts. They go at each other, but abruptly someone steps in, sticking a shoving arm between them. The tall guy demands to know what's that all about. Well, the man who intervened is sporting glasses and has brown hair. He looks to be in his 30s. The darker-skinned guy grabs his arm threateningly. With a sly smirk, he asks what the bespectacled guy plans to do now. Both start radiating a fierce aura, and the guy with glasses retorts that Kang's just a student. He swiftly yanks his arm out of the grip, throwing the guy off a little. He quips if the four-eyed wonder is really ready to throw down over some random kid. Kang pipes up that he's not looking for a fight, but he can't keep ignoring the trash talk. The guy keeps pushing, asking if he really wants to risk it for just a mere student. Feeling fed up, Kang gets ready to launch an attack, but suddenly flinches at something. One of the drones takes out the darker-skinned guy. The system announces the summary is about to roll out, emphasizing that anyone who creates a ruckus outside the official fighting schedule will face execution from the hovering drones. Kang is stunned at how effortlessly they're offing people without a second thought and wonders how on earth he's supposed to survive in a place like this. The summary kicks off, and a figure congratulates all those who managed to stay in the game. The figure mentions that the doping test round has wrapped up, but it was just a casual beginning. As they keep staying alive, eliminations will become rare, but for now, any loss translates to being booted from fighting ward. And when he says elimination, he means being put out of commission for life. He also mentions the main reason most of them are here, the eye-popping prize of 10 billion won, waiting for the victor. Hearing that, the crowd starts buzzing with excitement over the cash. Kang thinks with all that dough, his family could finally live like decent folks. The man adds, however, that sadly, only one person will snag that prize, but they shouldn't lose heart. Cash that could finally let his family live like regular, decent folks. The guy throws in a bummer comment that sadly, only one person gets to snag the prize. But hey, don't let that rain on your parade, because if they make it to the top 16, they'll snag 5% of the total bets placed on them by the VIPs. The guys are buzzing at the thought of scoring that cash. Each player gets to have their own camera rolling to introduce themselves. The VIPs will tune into each player's channel and place bets based on who catches their eye. The more dough they'll rake in. For the time being, they need to keep the VIPs on their team and make sure they end up swimming in cash when it's all said and done. Now, accommodations have been set up for the fighters to chill in after their matches. And right now, they can pick any room that strikes their fancy. Some questions are bound to pop up from the audience as they watch the fighters. A few guys are saying that to draw the VIP's eyes, they need to flex their muscles, and they should totally head for the same room as Kang. One young lad mentions that finding a good room might be tougher than they thought. But the glasses-wearing guy who helped him earlier assures him not to sweat it because he won't let anything bad happen to Kang before the fights kick off. Kang feels a little iffy about it, but he goes along with the guy's offer anyway. Then he spots someone passing by and does a double take, thinking they look oddly familiar. The guy suggests they continue searching for a place to crash, but still decides to go in with the guy, like a reluctant dance partner. Then he notices someone pass by and thinks, wait a second, they look kind of familiar. The dude suggests they keep hunting for a place to crash. Kang is totally suspicious of this dude's behavior since he got dissed because of that kid. Now he's all looking to share a room with him. He admits he's clueless about this guy's motives, but doesn't want to put his faith in him, not even for a second. 100%. Because honestly, everyone here is a ticking time bomb. The dude asks why he's just standing there like a statue. Those same two guys from earlier chime in, saying that room already has a group settled and they're after the same spot as Kang. They suggest it's smarter to hit up a nearby room since the guy seems like he's one of the top dogs that the VIPs would be interested in. But maybe being in the same room could be asking for trouble. So staying close would actually be a smart move since they might pop up on a fancy channel for the wealthy folks. It turns out, guys with bulging muscles are like magnets for big money gamblers. Meanwhile, in another room, we catch sight of three tall, beefy guys hanging out together. Out of nowhere, a laid-back dude with blonde hair and a jacket strolls in. He shuts the door behind him and decides to stick around. He says it looks like a decent room, leaving everyone speechless. The other guys pop up in a threatening way, but the dude just casually asks if they could move aside. One of them points out that the camera isn't even there yet. This bold guy has the guts to close the door. He lunges at the blonde guy, claiming he's asking to get wrecked. He dodges smoothly and delivers a clean hit to the jaw of the dark-skinned guy, who drops like a sack of potatoes. The other two are left gaping, totally shocked by the performance. The blonde guy cheerfully asks if anyone else wants a little hello. Both guys freeze in fear, totally hesitant. He advises them to keep their mouths shut as they are. He's clearly interested in shaking hands with someone else, and we find out his name is Han Minsu, and the dude is just 19. Outside the fighting zone, there's a car cruising on a bridge. Inside, Kim is dishing out the scoop that the vice president has teamed up once again with Choi McShin, the old tournament champ, and the vice chief is not thrilled. He's scratching his head, pondering what path to take now, since his only hope relies on he'll be eligible for the second round of fights with doping. Thanks to his physique, he's got a high shot at hitting that elite enhancement level, since his bones are 10 times tougher than regular ones. And just one more doping shot could turn him into a record-shattering beast. The vice chief is worried it may be a bit tricky to keep him under their thumbs, since other VIPs and even fighters might try to throw a wrench in the works. Kim suggests not to sweat it right now, since the members in the room Kang entered are the vice chief is taken aback by that revelation. Meanwhile, Kang, the same guy from before, notes that it's not a walk in the park to get views because the crowd is usually drawn to fighters who have already tasted victory, and that doesn't really help their case. We see the only female fighter in the fighting area, Amanda Groke, age 23, we also catch a glimpse of the littlest fighter in this competition, Kim Minyo, who's 25 and packs a punch as a boxer. And the last one among them is a bizarre character named Menon, age 28, who's lying on the floor begging for help while attempting to lick his own elbow. Out of the blue, 5 drones buzz into the room. The 4-eyed dude announces that the drones have kicked off recording. They need to catch the VIP's eye in that room to reel in some cash. He flexes his big arm, then jumps and starts busting out push-ups using only his fingers. 2. Kang, in a dilemma, isn't quite sure what to do in that madness. He glances over at Amanda, who's gearing up and aiming a finger at the floor. She presses down hard with her finger, and Kang's impressed. Then she shifts into a rather wacky pose. Before long, she's mirroring the 4-eyed guy's position, but balancing on just one finger. The boy can't believe his eyes as she lifts her own weight with one finger and 0 prep time. They both keep cranking out push-ups in this jaw-dropping showdown. Minho jumps in, declaring showing off strength is for fools, and then suddenly springs into action. Kang is in total awe at how absurdly fast he can move. Meanwhile, Menon is still trying to lick his elbow while blurting out nonsensical stuff. Kang, amidst the circus around him, wonders what in the world is happening and why anyone would waste time watching all this chaos. Suddenly, the system chimes in, announcing that 124 fighters have seen their matches set. Everyone in the room shifts their gaze to the big screen to size up their opponents. Kang's adversary is a dude named Kai, sporting fiery red hair and an X-shaped scar on his face. Shifting scenes to a different building, Kim is with the deputy chief, who queries if this guy is any good at fighting. The man replies that he hasn't lost a single match since his days of practicing this martial art known as lethwi. The deputy chief, baffled, asks if he actually said lethwi, clueless about what that even is. Kim explains it's a martial art similar to Muay Thai in several ways, but way more brutal, with some serious damage. The deputy chief asks if Muay Thai isn't already among the toughest fighting sports, where the hits are heavy and can deal major damage. Kim responds that lethwi is even worse. Not only do they go bare knuckle, they're always gunning for the face or the head, and it's ironic because the skull is one of the strongest bones in our body. But still, any damage there can spell trouble, which is why it got banned from official tournaments. The boy is blown away because she can lift her entire body weight with just one finger, no warm-up needed. Both of them are there doing push-ups, putting on quite the show. Minho then chimes in that showing off strength is for fools and gets into position. He bolts forward with a crazy burst of speed. Kang can't wrap his head around how Kang is just sitting there watching the madness unfold around him. He can't help but wonder what on earth that is because it's utterly bonkers, and who would actually waste time watching such nonsense? Out of nowhere, the system announces that 124 fighters have had their matches set. Everyone in the room is glued to the big screen checking out their opponents. Kang's opponent, a dude named Kai, with flaming red hair and an X-shaped scar on his face. Meanwhile, the man replies that he hasn't lost a single bout since his days practicing a martial art called lethwi. The deputy chief looks puzzled, asking if he genuinely said lethwi, totally clueless about what that is. Kim explains that it's a martial art quite akin to Muay Thai in many ways, but a whole lot rougher and capable of dealing way more damage. The deputy chief raises an eyebrow, questioning if Muay Thai isn't already one of the most bone-crushing fighting sports that's known for heavy hits. Kim shoots back that lethwi takes the cake. Not only do they go into battle without gloves, their target is always the face or head, which is kind of ironic because the skull is one of the toughest bones in the body. But hey, any damage there could be lethal, which is precisely why it got the boot from official tournaments. Kim chimes in saying it's a martial art that's kinda like Muay Thai, only with more punch and less mercy. The deputy chief raises an eyebrow and wonders if Muay Thai isn't already a heavyweight in the fighting arena. One of the most brutal fighting sports where hits land like meteor strikes and cause serious damage. Kim fires back that this martial art takes it up a notch. Not only do they go gloveless, but headbutts are in the game too. They target the face or head, which is pretty ironic cause the skull is one tough cookie. But even so, any damage up there can be lights out, which is why it got the boot from official tournaments. But the real danger of Lethwy is lurking in a different corner. Kicks to the back of the neck and even the spine are fair game. And trust me, these strikes can either kill or leave you drooling like a vegetable. Kai showcased his hardcore fighting chops in the ward, and after hanging up his professional gloves, he ended up being used by an organization and is still going at it over there. The deputy chief gets curious about this organization, and Kim replies that the official ring fights were just leaving him high and dry. So he went hunting for famous street fighters and caught the eye of an organization. The deputy wants to know if Kang-gu actually stands a chance against him. Kim says he's just itching to find out, which gives the deputy quite a shock. But Kang, along with his pal the Black Bear, are the only fighters who've never set foot in a martial arts gym. Then we zoom back into the fighting ward where we find Kai, who's 28 years old, in a room full of 5 fighters, including our hero. They're waking up from these bizarre capsule-shaped beds. One guy asks how long he's been snoozing, noticing his body feels lighter than a feather. He wonders what's the deal and thinks the whole situation's a bit wacky. But he remembers this feeling isn't new. He's been here before. It hit him after that scuffle he had with the Black Bear at the hospital. He confirms it and mentions he's feeling like a superhero. The glasses-wearing dude from earlier tells him there's no need for shock. He spills that his muscles were at max capacity and healed up without any serious damage, which explains why he feels like a beast. He adds that Kane probably has never pushed himself to the brink like that before. The guy realizes it's true. He's never thrown down at full throttle until that brawl with the Black Bear. While still talking, the four-eyed man mentions he probably got back his usual speed and maybe took some recovery juice. Kang asks about something from a few days ago, and the guy listens up. He inquires why the man risked getting hurt to defend him. The man admits he did it because Kang reminds him of his son. He tries to be a good dad, but the kid isn't too fond of him and owes some dough to the loan sharks. Kang mentions he's also there. The man wraps up by saying yes, he's there to make things right. But when he spotted the kid all alone, he couldn't shake off thoughts of his own son's troubles and just couldn't stand around doing nothing. Kang tells him to stop wasting time on him. The kid tells him to stay alive and focus on spending time with his own son, because if he kicks the bucket, all this would be utterly pointless. The man pauses, realizing what he just said, and is taken aback for a second. He playfully puts Kang in a headlock and tells him to help him one last time, but the young man says that's not what They turn to see Menon all indignant, barking about why he's not in the main arena. He boasts that he can touch his own elbow with his tongue, sounding far too proud of that weird party trick. Back to the duo, the man guesses that the matches drawing the most eyes will air in the main arena, while the rest won't. But something feels off from it all because everyone there except for Manon is at the main arena. Among those left out, the opponents of the other 4 who are outside apart from the redhead are some serious heavyweights because they're well-known monsters. Kang wonders if that shouldn't be a good thing. The man, looking worried, asks what he means by it should be good. The kid explains this is the prime opportunity to grab the VIP's attention. The man nearly loses his cool, shocked by the kid's words. Out of the blue, Menon gets close to Kang, stating that the main arena isn't just about racking up views. Stepping back, the kid is taken aback by Menon popping up right in front of him because it's where the top 16 strut their stuff and unleash powers that can rock the world. And that means exploring their skills, and he'd also love to be in that mix. Kang admits he wishes he could chat with his mom right now. Far away, we notice 3 cars parked in what resembles a warehouse. Inside, we find the vice chief and Kim in a quirky setup beside a barrel ablaze. The vice chief grumbles that he'd much rather watch the fight in the main arena and wonders why they're stuck in some dump like this. Kim explains that the fighting ward's location is classified only known to organizations, so they're likely meeting in a secret spot. The guy notes that someone's been watching Kang Wu's channel besides them. The vice chief asks why suddenly could they be trying to snoop. A voice behind them suggests it looks like there's some kind of deal brewing. We spot a woman named Cha Sanjin, and she's 19, the youngest daughter of the Hosen group. The girl claims she's just curious about a young fighter named Kang Sun Wu, and that's about it. The vice chief remarks it hasn't been long since she got the boot from the company, yet now they're following him around like hungry rats. Kim says it appears the young lady has taken a fancy to the boss. The vice chief, thoroughly annoyed, asks who he's calling little sister, adding that she's merely an illegitimate daughter. As she descends the stairs, the girl quips that he could be kinder because she even dropped out of school to support her two brothers in the company. But she thanks him for sniffing around a place as intriguing as this. So she claims she's probably grateful. The vice chief mutters, either way, it's best if she keeps her mouth shut and scrams. Just then, a car pulls up at the spot along with a guiding drone. Kim observes that the young lady seems to have caught the boss's eye. The vice chief, absolutely fuming, demands to know who he's calling little sister and insists she's just an illegitimate daughter. As she descends the stairs, the girl remarks on how harsh that was, since she even quit school to lend a hand to her two brothers in the business. But she thanks him for uncovering such an intriguing spot like this. So she figures she's probably appreciative. The vice chief retorts, either way, it's best if she stays quiet and clears out of here. Suddenly a car rolls up accompanied by a guiding drone. Just like the folks from the battle zone, these two guys pop up out of nowhere, catching everyone off guard. They're dressed in weird outfits, and those hovering drones announce they'll be taking them to the championship's main arena. A little while later, someone nudges Chash to take off her blindfold. When she does, she finds herself in a swanky place filled with plush red armchairs. She's like, what kind of place is this? Turns out it's the big-time fighting arena all decked out and fancy. A security guard chips in saying, welcome to the arena where the 16 VVIPs hang out. After soaking it all in, she exclaims, I'm finally here, as she glances around the playground for the rich and famous, the ultimate fun zone. Kim and the vice chief are chilling in spots just as posh, and the vice chief says it's even bigger than he imagined. The guy with the glasses mentions that once the current fight wraps up, it'll be Kang Sun Wu's turn from There's a loud crash that sends both of them jumping out of their skins. In the ring, the same blonde dude from earlier has some poor guy's neck pinned against the wall. The vice chief's like, what kind of monster is that dude? Kim chimes in, that's Han Minsu, same age as student Kang. The guy wonders if he's just another pupil, like the main character. The man's like, not exactly a student anymore since he dropped out, and Kim adds crazy school. It's got two monsters in it. Another guy's totally confused, saying that Han Minsu used to attend the same school as Kang Sun Wu. Back to Han in the ring, he smokes his opponent like it's no big deal. The guide announces the battle between Room 9 and Room 29. Shocked, the guy from before remarks that this arena is on another level compared to the last one. The system announces that fighter Kim Min must get ready to enter the ring. He preps himself with a hint of disdain, waiting for his shot. The guide tells the fighters who finished their matches to clear out. Han strolls calmly toward the exit behind Minho. Kang and his buddy are chatting about how Minho doesn't seem too sure of himself. Suddenly, a rock whizzes past and slams into the wall near Kang, making him jump. He's like, what in the world was that? Minho glances over at them, keeping his lazy expression intact. He says he definitely saw what just went down. He explains how Han was just chilling, tilted his head, and casually tossed a rock in Kang Sun Wu's direction. Min declares that guy is nuts, and his speed is off the charts. It's almost unreal. As he walks by, he asks if the kid on Min's team isn't acting a bit cocky, obviously referring to the protagonist. The young guy's like, what are you talking about? Han scoffs at him, and the boy's totally lost. Locking eyes with him, the blonde man smirks, saying there's no point. In a flash, the young man gets into a fighting stance and backs away from him. Kang and his buddy in the stands are scratching their heads, confused by the sudden turn of events. Amanda pipes up, saying it wasn't sudden at all, leaving the guy baffled. She tells him the dude can sense the tiniest intentions in people, especially those looking to take someone out. Han and Min are still frozen in their positions. But then, the guy in the jacket just keeps strolling towards the door. Min says Han made him feel like he was about to get killed, which sent his imagination into overdrive, and he thinks that guy's not playing around. Later, we catch a glimpse of Min's mental vision when Han was close. It's all in his head. The young man wonders if he's really that weak and how he's supposed to get any payback. Someone behind him interrupts, asking, "What are you looking at?" The boy snaps back to reality. We meet a fellow named Pius, 31 years old and a wrestler. The president of a hotel VIP mentions he sponsored Pius because of his wrestling chops and wants to know more about it. Another man adds, "It doesn't matter how hard they hit. Wrestlers just drag you to the ground and that's game over. Once you're dominated, they utilize throws, joint locks, and all sorts of techniques. That's why MMA fighters need to master grappling as part of their arsenal." Long story short, wrestling is like the ultimate hybrid of martial arts. If wrestlers can withstand the punches, they've got a plethora of moves from various styles at their disposal. But in cases where there's a stark physical disparity, the guide announces the fighters are ready, and it's about time for the showdown between Kim Minj and Pius to kick off. Min gets into a fighting stance, bracing for Pius's attack. Pius questions if he's a boxer, noticing his hands and judging that he probably never fought without gloves, before adding that it's pretty sad. The guy freaks out and yells in agony, one of his eyes clearly wrecked from the hit. He's still squawking in fear, probably blind in his left eye now. Min teases him, asking who is calling him weak. Pius is thinking hard about his next move and tells himself he needs to grab Min quickly since he's down. Pius remarks that Min's speed is off the charts, especially on the side where he can't see. The young man lands another solid punch to Pius's face with his left hand. Right after that, he follows it up with a punch from the right. Mentions that this guy can pick up on even the faintest intentions in others, particularly those with murderous thoughts. Han and Min are still frozen in their tracks. But then, the guy in the jacket casually strolls right over to the door. Min comments that the guy made him feel like he was about to be killed, messing with his head, and there's no doubt this guy doesn't play games. Following that, we catch a glimpse of the wild mental scene Min's been imagining while Han was near him, all swirling in his mind. The young man wonders if he's truly that weak and how he could possibly exact his revenge like this. A voice from behind asks where he's looking, and the boy snaps back to reality. We meet a dude named Pius, 31 years old and a wrestler. We see the hotel president, a VIP type who says he sponsored Pius due to his wrestling flair, and asks about it. A man alongside him remarks that it doesn't matter how he strikes. Wrestlers will take you down, and that's that. Once someone gets dominated, there's no escape. They utilize throws, joint locks, and various other techniques. That's why MMA fighters prioritize mastering wrestling on the ground. In short, wrestling combines the strongest foundation of all martial arts. Because if they can withstand the punches, wrestlers can pull off a bunch of moves from different styles. But in this case, where there's a significant physical disparity, the bout won't be tricky. The guide states the fighters are prepped and that the clash between Kim Minj and Pius can kick off now. Min adopts a fighting stance, waiting for Pius to make his move. Pius questions whether he's a boxer, implying that judging by his hands, he's never fought without gloves before, and that it's a real shame the kid's first opponent had to be him. Then he charges in, but Min counters with a powerful punch to the face. The guy's freaked out, yelping in pain with one of his eyes looking pretty messed up from the hit. He keeps wailing in fear, probably now blind in his left eye. Min gives him a hard time, asking who he was calling weak. Pius starts brainstorming his next move and tells himself he needs to grab Min quickly, since he's only got one good eye left and his vision is shot. He's sweating bullets over not being able to see. Pius mentions that Min's speed is off the charts, especially on the blind side. The young fella delivers another knockout punch to Pius's face with his left hand, and before you know it, there's a right hook coming in hot. His punches pack a serious punch. Piz tries to grab him and toss out some colorful language, but this young guy dodges like he's got super speed. It's unreal. After he slips away, he starts landing hits all over Piz's body. Piz realizes he's losing sight in his other eye too. All he can see now is a hazy blur of fists coming his way like it's a new horror movie in the stands. Some dude wonders if the kid is about to wrap it up right here and now. Amanda laughs and says, "No way surprising the other two." She adds that Piz is starting to block his punches, which is totally true. Looks like he's finally catching on to the young man's moves. Suddenly, Min senses danger and gets alarmed. In a split second, Piz nearly catches him, but the kid dodges backward like a pro and escapes. He wonders why he's got that reflex when he's the one who's supposed to be on the attack. Meanwhile, the dude is trying to figure out what's going on. He notices his remaining eye is finally clearing up, go figure. Pa says it feels like every hair on his body is on high alert, standing straight up like he just touched a live wire. He zeroes in on the moment and declares he's going to shut down, closing his eyes like a blindfolded hero. Min is like, "What the heck are you doing?" confused and totally clueless about this trickery. But while winding up a mighty punch, the kid boldly announces that the fight's already sorted. Out of nowhere, even with his eyes shut, Piss manages to block the kid's punch. The crowd is left gobsmacked. Min realizes that if Piz gets a hold of him, it's game over. He has to bail out fast. Too bad he accidentally runs smack into Piss's hand, which snags him. He gets launched backward in a way that's bizarre. The dude slams him into the ground with such force that it cracks the floor. Yikes. From the stands, someone shouts that he just pulled off a hip throw. The VIP in Funding Pies is like, "What just happened?" He grows stronger the more he gets smacked around. His sidekick explains that Piss seems to be losing his sight while gaining some kind of sensory superpowers. Down on the ground, Min looks like he's been through a blender after that throw. Piss smirks, saying he should thank men for making him lose an eye because now he's discovered his true strength. Suddenly, a powerful right hook lands square on his face. The boy nails it perfectly. He's not out, and that punch smacks Piss's other eye. Piss falls backward, howling in pain and totally blind. The VIP notes that even with sensory vision, he can't see. Without at least one eye, that is, Piss is on the ground, screaming like he just stubbed his toe on a coffee table. Watching, the dude thinks Min is pretty skilled and is holding his own even after taking hits. He doesn't know why, but everything seems to be going well. The sidekick says this situation can't be undone because the kid's not all there in consciousness at the moment. The shocked VIP asks if the boy really threw that punch while out cold. We see the boy sprawled on the ground, fist raised, but not budging. Amanda says he really needs to wake up before Piss finds him because he's knocked out there like a sack of potatoes. We see the poor blind guy still standing around feeling the havoc of losing his sight. He's furious now and shouts that he truly can't see anything, yet somehow he's tapping into this sensory vision where he can sense everything around him. He's like, "What the heck is this?" Now Piss can feel the ground and even the individual grains of sand. He can hear his opponent's heartbeat, sensing things that seemed impossible before. He can even feel the ambient air pressure changing around him. Plus, he feels like he can see even behind him. The dude's on cloud nine, treating this like it's some kind of natural high. He's feeling fantastic. He cackles like a madman, saying he was bummed out about not getting a power-up, but now that he's naturally boosted, he'll be leveling up constantly. Piz expresses his gratitude to that little punk for messing with him and declares he'll put him to eternal sleep. He then lunges forward to attack. Min is out cold on the ground, mentally saying his body. He recalls seeing someone lifeless on the ground and vows to find the person responsible. The boy remembers a man saying that if he wants to track down his brother's killer, he should call him and hand him a card from the fighting ward. Deep down, he's calling for his brother. Back in the real world, Pies looms over him, nearly landing an elbow strike. He's falling from the sky like a meteor with mad speed and power. Min wakes up and wonders why everything is moving so slow. It hits him that it's not the world that's slow, it's his incredible speed. Right after impact, he dodges the attack like a ninja. Everyone is baffled, questioning how that just happened. Pies can't believe it. How did the kid escape? The young fighter thanks him for awakening sensations that had been dormant for ages. Now that he's recharged, he's back at the top of his game. Piss, frustrated, realizes this kid is not just playing around, he's faster than ever, returning to his fighting stance. Min cheekily says he wants to see how long Piss can keep up with him. Ready to roll, the boy declares that round one is about to kick off. Piss gets prepped, exclaiming that the kid's coming. With a flash, Min darts straight towards Piss and throws an attack. But Piss blocks it, shocking the boy because that should have been impossible. Not deterred, he unleashes another punch which gets blocked yet again. The kid confidently says he's about to hit the next level and keeps attacking, but the man dodges elegantly. He tries to grab the boy who senses it and reacts. Min swiftly dodges back. Paz can't believe how this kid pulled off that escape. The young man gives him a nod for snapping him back to life. Now that he's had a breather, he's back on top of his game. Frustration creeps in as the guy realizes this kid is no joke. He's even quicker than before. Nin gets back in his fighting stance, ready to see if Peg can keep up. With the stage set, the boy declares that round one is about to kick off. Pies braces himself and shouts that the kid is on the move. In a flash, Nin zips right up to him and goes for an attack. But Pies blocks it like a seasoned pro. The boy's eyes widen in disbelief because that shouldn't have happened. He swings again, and once more it's blocked flawlessly. The boy declares he's cranking it up to the next level and ramps up the assault, but the man artfully dodges it. He tries to grab the kid, but Min sees it coming and nimbly backs away. The kid's mind races as he wonders how the guy is keeping pace with him. Pais is over the moon and claims he can feel everything from tiny little wiggles to heartbeats. To him, it's like there are no blind spots anywhere. Min chimes in saying just cruising won't cut it. He's got to take a leap of faith. He squats down and says he needs to hit his top speed to make a dent. Then he blasts off like a rocket right toward his opponent. Charging in, the boy proclaims he's going to unleash his best move called the light straight. Suddenly, he gets a shiver and feels something off. Bam Pai smacks him straight in the face and snatches his other arm. The boy crashes down like a sack of potatoes badly hurt. Pace is a bit taken aback and wonders why did he go down from that one punch to the face. Meanwhile, Ming hops back up with a grunt. He's baffled how Ming is still on his feet after taking a hit to the throat. He starts to think maybe Ming's just out cold again. Pace sighs, saying that if he had kept attacking, he would have bitten the dust. But by falling, Min saved his own neck. From the stand, some guy is nagging that Min's speed isn't enough to win, and he seems to be feeling more of the hits. But then he sees something in the arena that makes him jump a little. Min is zipping around so fast, it looks like he's cloned himself and is in 3 spots at once. The guy is stunned, saying he's not using any steroids, just some nifty footwork. He wonders if he's just warming up for the speed super drug later. Min keeps creating his illusion with that lightning speed. The guy is scratching his head, wondering what's the plan in a jam like this. The young man launches a right hook, and the guy yells, "Don't do it or you're toast." But, surprise, surprise, he lands that punch bang on his opponent's face. Piss tries to snag him with a counter, but just whiffs. The boy dodges like it's nobody's business, leaving the man completely baffled. Min is zipping in circles around his foe like he's on a racetrack. Pais is floundering, unable to throw a punch, but unfortunately, Min is getting more and more winded. The guy exclaims he shouldn't be pulling this stunt because he doesn't have the stamina to keep the pace, and if he runs out of gas, he won't land any more hits. Suddenly, a punch crashes square into his face. Back in the stands, the guy is freaked out, wondering if he's going to do it again. Yet Min keeps up this crazy tempo and keeps hurling a flurry of quick punches at his opponent. Amazingly, the boy is maintaining that energy. The man's blown away, saying the hits are actually working, and wonders why he keeps throwing those fakes. Amanda explains it's because all those feints are just part of the kid's strategy. The young man is landing those power punches like a pro. She adds that his opponent lost his vision, meaning he'll unconsciously overlook feints, and straight hits won't work. So now he's planning to fake him out to trick him. The man throws in his 2 cents. Amanda shoots that down, saying it's bigger than that, because Kim Minho can mess with multiple senses. She explains that with sensory enhancement, it's simple to read movements, but it takes training. By momentarily fainting at Min's level, a person's brain goes into total disarray. The boy is slowly pushing his opponent towards a mental breakdown. The girl admits she didn't expect him to figure out so quickly how well his opponent was reading him. Plus, she adds that young Kim Minho gives her the creeps. The boy keeps gliding and throwing punches aimed right for his opponent's face. From the VIP section, a dude wonders if Pais is really about to lose to that kid. His sidekick tells him to chill, then points out the look on the man's face and questions whether that is the face of someone losing. We see Pai's face looking ecstatic like he's enjoying the beatdown, but in a flash he catches the boy by surprise and declares that victory belongs to his senses with a mischievous grin. The man clobbers the kid with a brutal hit. Min realizes he's in a pinch and there's no escape. Pai caps off the move by slamming Min's head into the ground like it's a cherry on top. Everyone in the audience is left gaping at the scene. Even the VIPs are taken aback, but suddenly, what should have been Min's body begins to evaporate into thin air. Pais insists he's positive he grabbed and socked the boy, but we soon spot the boy standing right in front of him. Kang scratches his head, wondering how he ended up behind the dude after just being hit. Amanda chips in, saying the punches landed on the guy actually messed with his brain. The boy looks blown away by her insight. She adds that the attacks were aimed at critical points, particularly the skull. She goes on to explain that when you smack the head, the brain gets rattled and it takes a moment to get its act together after a hit. And in that brief moment, it muddles the line between feeling and perception. Kim Minho created a few seconds of sensory delay, leaving Pais convinced he struck him when he hadn't even touched him. Kang is impressed by the boy and wonders if this guy is really stronger than he is. The boy continues to keep an eye on the man frozen from the last attack. Pai questions if this kid without any enhancements has sharper senses than he does, exclaiming that's just plain unfair. Pai lies on the floor looking like he's just about had it. Meanwhile, Min stands tall, and the referee steps in to assess the situation and finally declares that due to the incapacitation of one fighter, Kim Minho is the winner of the match. From the stands, the dude is celebrating the kid's victory. The VIP is livid because Pays lost his match. Still in the ring, Min looks utterly drained after his win. On his knees, he calls out to his brother, dedicating his hard-earned victory to him. In another VIP room, we see the girl with her bodyguard remarking that fight was something out of this world, and now she gets why the old-timers got so into it. The guy claims that this joint is where the high rollers flaunt their wildest dreams, a playground for money and power where the rules don't apply and life is but a game. Anything goes here. Even the hallucinogens flow freely like they're on a wild party cruise. It's like Candyland for the elites hunting for treasures they can't find anywhere else. The dude adds that this is how the big shots cash in on the scene. And now he spots the second-in-command making a push for the top spot, which is a real head-scratcher. He says it's just the second-in-command's way of picking his fighters smartly, since he knows this place is a gold mine. And the girl wonders if that's why he's charging in, all aggressively calling it pretty impressive. Back to our main dude, he claims this whole charade will come to a head in the next round. Meanwhile, in a different corner of the world, a man is glued to his screen watching a men's match unfold. Behind him, a fellow who calls himself the director mentions that all 16 VIPs have rolled into the venue. A guy all wrapped up in bandages pipes in saying attendance this year was absolutely perfect and asks if there are any updates. The four-eyed fellow says they spotted the second stage of sensory doping first, but its effects wore off by 20%. He continues that none of the doping showed the expected regeneration effects, and the bandage guy inquires if that means they flopped. The bespectacled guy assures him that's not the case, and adds that the peak effects are just getting warmed up, more results are on the way. Still, the man mentions that, oddly, for the first time, one of the dopings didn't work at all, and they've got clues that might lead to regeneration. The bandaged man asks if he's suggesting skin reinforcement and whether they can kick things off. The man responds confidently that they'll dive in soon enough. There might be hints about regeneration buried in that. The bandaged man inquires if he's referring to skin reinforcement and asks if they can start applying it. The other man confidently responds that it will happen soon. Why? Because the next fighter stepping into the arena is Kai, a beast with wild red hair striking a pose that screams badass, cutting back to Kang and his buddy right before the showdown kicks off. They're having a little chat, and the older fella tells Kang that if it looks too gnarly, he should just throw in the towel. The protagonist shoots back that's not going to happen, and it shouldn't. The man wonders how this young punk can be so chill without a hint of nerves. Kang simply says he's got zero feeling like that, which it quickly calls out Kang Sun Wu and announces he's up for the fight. He strides calmly toward the entrance. In his thoughts, he muses that ever since this circus began, he's ditched all sense of fear. He recalls how, over time, he witnessed all sorts of accidents happening around him, and in those life-and-death moments, he'd always stumble upon some bizarre way to survive, first gasping in shock. But as the years trudged on, he turned numb, especially in perilous times. The kid doesn't flinch. Bullies tried to intimidate and belittle him, but he didn't bat an eye, not even when they beat him up. Eventually, the bullies reversed roles and started watching their backs instead, and now fighting is the only way he can keep his dear family safe. Gazing at Kai, he notes that he's no ordinary opponent, one unlike he's faced before. Over time, though, he's become numb, especially when danger strikes. The kid remains unfazed. He claims bullies tried to intimidate him, but he felt zero fear nada at all. Even when they pounded on him, his face wouldn't flinch. Eventually, those bullies ended up fearing him instead of the other way around. Now fighting is the only way. He can shield his beloved family and keep them safe. Gazing at Kai, he acknowledges he's facing a whole new level of opponent. The two stand tall, poised for an epic showdown. The vice director, the four-eyed guy, declares it's his first time spotting skin reinforcement doping, and the man asks how a little skin could pack a punch in a fight. The response: it's more than just helpful. Kai's last opponent got their skin and muscles shredded to bits. Seriously, the dude wonders if with that kind of reinforcement, his foe can't even scratch his skin. The guy explains, wonders how skin could turn the tide in a fight. The man replies, it's beyond helpful. The last opponent Kai faced took a nasty beating, skin and muscles torn to shreds. Seriously, the guy asks if with that kind of enhancement, his enemies can't even lay a glove on him. The dude explains that in this state, Kai's skin is so tough and calloused from all that training, it can withstand human strength. On top of that, the man notes that the VIPs usually drop a hefty amount of cash on bets for Kai. The guy gets irritated because everyone's already betting on Kai just because he trained in Lue and has enhancements while Kang is going in solo, no upgrades. We see that everyone's stacking their chips on Kai and not a dime has been tossed Kang's way. Suddenly, he's taken aback. He has the enhancement while Kang is running in pure. Everyone's got their chips on Kai and not a single dollar is on the protagonist. Suddenly, he's dumbfounded. He says someone placed a bet on Kang before anyone else, and we're talking a whopping 1 billion cash. The vice director's jaw drops, and he quickly demands to know who did it, flashing to the same VIP girl from before we see her making the bet. Her bodyguard questions if she's sure about throwing down that much. She counters that high risks lead to high rewards, and she believes taking big risks is the only ticket to breaking into the elite club. She's eager to see whether this gamble will end up being a total bust or pay off big time. Kang and Kai stand off face to face in the center of the ring. The observing drone kicks into gear. It announces that the bout between Kang Sun Wu and Kai has officially started. The boy quickly drops into a combat stance, declaring he'll win no matter what, but he notices Kai isn't budging a muscle. The boy can't help but comment that the man isn't even bothering to prep for the fight. He shouts at Kai, asking if he's going to throw down or just stand there. Kai replies that he's a warrior and doesn't bother hitting weaklings. Kang gets a bit riled up over that snarky response. Kai strolls towards Kang and says he'll be striking with only 10% of his power, telling Kang not to even think about getting back up. Then he delivers a jaw-dropping kick to Kang's stomach, sending him flying like a rag doll. The vice director and Min are shocked by Kai's raw power. Then, with a fierce kick to the kid's stomach, he sends him soaring like a rocket. The vice director and Min are taken aback by Kai's raw power. Kang is left groaning in agony down on one knee. Kang groans in agony, kneeling on the canvas. The vice director wonders if it's game over after just one hit. From the stands, a spectator throws out that maybe it's time to call it quits on the fight. The blonde guy chimes in, saying Kang isn't even screaming from the pain. He states Kang probably felt the punch and figured Kai wasn't going to come at him again because he just wanted to freak him out. The guy asks if Kai is really trying to let Kang off easy. The boy calmly replies, "Nah, I'm just feeling kinda embarrassed." The guy is stunned to hear that. If he had to actually battle a high schooler like Kang, his reputation would take a nosedive. He's just planning to knock the protagonist out real quick to wrap things up. Back at the center, Kai tells the protagonist to stop faking injury and find a way to move on to the next round. The guy adds that pretending to be in pain ain't gonna change anything, and he'll give the boy another shot. Kang chimes in, telling him to pick up where they left off, catching Kai off guard. The young man asks if there's a reward for talking so much with that tone. Kai just stays quiet. Then he says this time it's going to be easier, and he'll knock the kid out with an even harder hit. Getting ready, he claims he wants to see if Kang can take it. With ridiculous strength and speed, he kicks Kang. But Kang counters with a rock-solid kick, leaving Kai totally dumbfounded. The girl, the vice president, and Kang's buddies are all jaw-dropped at the kid's strength. He quickly pulls another weird move, gearing up to unleash a different attack. Kai yells for him to shut it and charges in, but the protagonist, striking a crazy pose, dodges the attack like a pro. The redhead notices that the kid's neck is all bent and realizes it shouldn't even be possible. Kane flashes his hand up so fast it freaks Kai out. With an insane strike, he lands a devastating hit on the redhead's head from above. Everyone's stunned by the kid's raw power. Kai, fuming, declares he gave him a chance, but that opportunity has just slipped away. Kang says there's nothing wrong with giving chances and all that jazz, but no one should kneel before a mediocre student since Kang's strike was so powerful that it sent the redhead to his knees, unable to stand, and he didn't even use his fist for it. That's how pathetic Kai is. After getting up, the redhead remarks, if someone can convincingly fake being knocked out, what can he possibly do but scare me back? He puts both hands on Kang's shoulders and says he has no choice but to act now. The desperate kid realizes he can't break free from Kai's grip. Kai gears up to headbutt Kang with a monstrous force, claiming it's a 50% power blow. The only response the boy manages is a simple asterisk. Asterisk. The man delivers the headbutt smack on the boy, brutally smashing his face. He starts to feel dizzy as he hits the ground. The redhead wonders why he's feeling so much pain and questions if he's not managing his own strength right. In a quick turnaround, Kane reacts and kicks Kai in the face, using both feet, launching him backward. Kai wonders how the guy didn't even flinch after that headbutt. Kang lands back on the ground, shaking off the fog. He claims his vision is coming back after that hit. Like magic, the redhead appears right in front of him, preparing to throw a powerful punch. The punch lands on the boy's chest from below, tearing through his skin and clothes like they were made of paper. Back in the stands, a guy is questioning how that even happened, and the blonde dude says, "It's not over yet." Kai bolts in, slamming his knee into the protagonist. The knee to the stomach was so fierce it even hurt me. While airborne spewing blood, Kai can't even respond. He sets up to elbow the back of the boy's neck. The dude in the stands warns, if that blow hits the neck, the protagonist could be toast. The strike hits the boy's head with full power, sending him crashing to the ground after a flurry of attacks. After the fight, the guy looks defeated, while the redhead just keeps an eye on him. The four-eyed guy quips, "This is way too much for a simple brawl." Behind him, the blonde guy exclaims, "This is just ridiculous," and the guy asks him why that is. He wonders what's up with this Kang Sun Wu. Just what kind of person is he? We see Kai commenting that before taking the elbow, the protagonist buried his head into the ground. The redhead wonders if the kid lying there is nuts or just panicking, and that was the only escape he thought he had. He couldn't possibly be okay unless his head was made of iron. Suddenly, the kid starts to rise, startling the man, who wonders how he's getting up so quickly. Kang stands up again, still looking a bit wobbly. The four-eyed dude, surprised, asks, "What's going on here?" Meanwhile, the blonde guy chimes in that if he thinks the protagonist is just some weak kid, he's totally wrong. Even without knowing a lot for some reason, Kang gives him the creeps. The protagonist jumps back into the fight, striking a fierce pose, locking eyes with his opponent. Kai says a kid like him shouldn't push too hard, and if he wants to survive, he should just throw in the towel now. Kang cuts in, saying he's still spewing nonsense. He wants to see if his endurance is as tough as his big mouth. Kai retorts that even if he manages to hit him, it'll be useless, and that he'd be better off surrendering. The redhead spreads his arms and tells the boy to bring it on. He won't even bother to defend himself. In his head, the protagonist thinks that Kai must be underestimating him. But why does he seem so furious? Kai remembers that to be the best, he had to put everything on the line. He had to knock out every opponent in the ring, and even then it never felt like enough. He thought that life or death fights would make him a true warrior to face real danger. He even hung out with assassins and gangsters. He'd wade into rival gangs and wipe them out, coming out on top as the strongest. Now he wonders if they really expect him to have a serious bout with a kid like that. Out every opponent in the ring. And even then, it never felt like enough. He believed that life or death fights would make him a true warrior to experience real danger. He even mingled with assassins and gangsters. He would enter rival groups and massacre everyone surviving as the strongest. Now he says they really expect him to have a serious fight with a student like that. He's gearing up to throw a punch while Kai suggests he should go all out. Not that it's going to make a difference anyway. Kang delivers a supercharged punch right to the big guy's gut. Everyone is left speechless by the power of the hit, but honestly, the punch was about as effective as a feather. Kai chimes in, "I told you so," with a grin that screams mischief. He claims he's not some clueless high school kid, and just when he seems shocked, it dawns on him. Kang casually announces he'll throw another punch. A left hook connects hard, catching his opponent completely off guard. The redhead's mind is blown clearly, not expecting that at all. Kang follows up with a knockout left kick to his foe's head, but Kai, with reflexes faster than a caffeine-fueled squirrel, blocks it. He quickly counters with a fist and asks, "What do you think you're doing, kid?" In a panic, Kang declares he has to dodge right now. The punch barely skims his chest, but that's enough to shred through his skin and fabric. Kang exclaims he thought he dodged it like a pro, but now he needs to make some distance. He hops back, putting space between him and his opponent after that hit. The two of them exchange intense glares as the tension in the air thickens. Kai inquires how many chances he has to give Kang before he throws in the towel. The main character can't help but smirk at that. The redhead raises an eyebrow and asks if the kid is really chuckling at what's happening. Kang wonders if he's forgotten what he told him earlier. He then rips off his shirt, revealing a chiseled physique that would make Greek gods jealous. The crowd is left agape at the sight of the lad's muscles, pondering how he got so strong. Kang reminds him, "Didn't I say I wouldn't defend myself?" To which the dude replies, "Yeah, you did." Kai asserts that Kang isn't just some poor kid being tossed into the ring as a sacrifice, but reminds him that this was his choice to make. His fist starts glowing with a blue aura and crackling patterns. Kang is bouncing in excitement for the fight ahead, sporting a grin. Kai unleashes a wild blue aura radiating from his body and finally declares he's in beast mode 100%. The guy with glasses asks why the protagonist's grinning like a Cheshire cat in a situation like this. Has he lost his mind? The woman insists, nah, he's just genuinely pumped for the fight. The guy scratches his head, confused. Kane should have thrown in the towel by now, considering what a beast his opponent is. The girl explains that this might be the first time he's actually felt challenged by someone strong. The guy asks who in their right mind would be so upbeat in a life-or-death situation. The girl reminisces, revealing she's been through that too, flashing back to when she faced bigger guys who underestimated her for being a girl, watching their faces go serious once they realized she could throw punches too. She says in those moments her heart felt ablaze and she was on cloud nine. The four-eyed guy misinterprets her vibe and tells her to chill. This isn't the moment for such talk. Still sitting there, the blonde guy nods, saying he knows that feeling all too well. When he was weak and yawning, no one saw him as a threat. The first time he felt alive was when he landed a solid punch and saw the other guy realize a kid like him could hit hard. And the four-eyed guy declares that there's no denying the protagonist is a true fighter. Back in the center of the fight, Kang adopts his battle pose again. Both are locked into a stare down, and at any moment fireworks could erupt. With a sly smirk, the protagonist declares it's time for him to make the first move. He launches himself forward to attack. He throws a punch which the redhead blocks with his arm, creating a shockwave that practically reverberates. From the stands, the guy comments on the massive sound that punch made. With that kind of force, even Kai must be taking a double take. Kang gets a bit irked, muttering that his opponent's skin feels like reinforced concrete. With his right hand ready, Kai gears up to punch, eager to see if the kid can actually withstand him. He sends a solid punch Kang tries to block with his forearm, but the impact still sends him crashing to the ground. Kang spits blood after absorbing that hefty blow. The four-eyed guy remarks that the impact shook the whole arena. This power is on another level. Kai completes his attack and stands over the protagonist on the ground. Then he follows up with a brutal knee strike aimed at the boy. The guy's heart races in trepidation, anticipating the worst, but the redhead only strikes the ground instead, as Kang dodged just in the nick of time, displaying his astounding speed and reflexes. The man is left speechless, unable to grasp what's unfolding before him. Calmly, the blonde quips no, he didn't completely dodge. His back's torn up too. Kang ponders the strange sensation within him, realizing there's a hint of fear creeping in. He can't believe it's happening because of someone like Kai. The redhead insists it's time the boy faces reality. Kai is the one opponent he simply cannot defeat. Kang shoots back, telling him not to be absurd because he's not the only one folks consider a monster, and whatever Kai can pull off, he can match too. He declares this while attempting to land an uppercut on the redhead. Kai nimbly sidesteps the strike, while Kang crouches elbow ready to smash into the ground, trying another move mid-dive. When that goes south, he starts to fret about what's coming next. With a mischievous grin and wild eyes, Kai declares it's time for him to take the offensive. The four-eyed guy quickly realizes the redhead is gearing up for another epic headbutt. Kang steadies himself and declares he can do anything Kai can do. They collide head-on in a clash that must have hurt like a rock against glass. In that moment, Kai clearly comes out on top. Kang finds himself on his knees after their headbutt showdown. He's trembling and struggling to stay upright. Kai declares this battle is over, stating that none of Kang's attempts display any real skill. He's just swinging for the fences. He says this and tries to land another uppercut on the redhead. Kai sidesteps again as Kang crouches with his elbow heading toward the ground, hoping for another shot during the fall. When that fails, anxiety sets in about what might happen next. With that wicked grin and manic look in his eyes, Kai announces it's time for his offense. The four-eyed guy quickly figures out the redhead is about to unleash another headbutt. Kang braces himself, reiterating he can do whatever Kai can do. They cause quite the impact in their head-on clash, one that must feel like being hit by a truck. Once again, Kai proves he's the stronger fighter. Kang collapses to his knees after the brutal headbutt clash. He quivers on the ground, struggling to get back up. Kai snickers, stating the fight is done. He bluntly mentions that none of Kang's moves show any actual skill. It's nothing but raw power. On the ground, Kang lets out another laugh, this time sounding more deranged. The man, taken aback, wonders if the kid is genuinely laughing. He declares that if Kang doesn't end this on his own, he'll wrap things up for him. Kai is still watching him, but now he's intrigued. Kang's giving off a bizarre vibe, something he's never seen before. The four-eyed guy comments on the atmosphere, claiming even the boy's blood looks like it's evaporating. Kang's face shows sheer determination. He shares that he typically avoided fights because everyone saw him as a monster. But now, in a wild place like this, he's ready to embrace his inner weirdo. He just can't seem to stop the laughter buzzing out of him. As Kai gears up to kick Kang, the kid admits he can't resist the urge to fight this dude. He quickly senses the incoming strike. With a strange push-off, he leaps and dodges the kick, then grabs Kai's head like it's a basketball. The redhead, eyes wide, exclaims he's way too fast. No time to react. Kang then lands a headbutt that's so powerful it turns Kai's brain into jelly. Still airborne, the protagonist spins and kicks with both feet, sending Kai face first into the ground. As Kai tries to rise, he mutters that those moves aren't human. In a flash, he sees Kang's fist right in his face. Kang slams down a brutal punch that hurls Kai into the arena wall. But Kai catches Kang's fist just before it connects with his mug. However, Kang uses that moment to yank him close, delivering a punch right in the gut, immediately following it with an even heavier blow that sends Kai flying, cracking the ground beneath him. The redhead is completely dazed after that hit. He braces against the ground, finally stopping his backward slide after getting smacked. Seriously, he wonders what kind of steroids Kang's on, because this guy seems to run on eternal energy. Kang tries to throw another left punch, but Kai blocks it just in time. Kai attempts to throw a counterattack, but Kang zips behind him with ease, landing a barrage of strikes all over Kai's body. Kai's at a loss and exclaims, "This is just insane." With no time to ponder, he takes another brutal hit to the face. He's getting completely wrecked by this dude. The guy goes flying and crashes to the ground like a sack of potatoes, showing zero reaction. The audience is shocked into silence by the smackdown going on in the arena. Kai is down on the ground, apparently totally defeated, his body a canvas of blood. The four-eyed guy asks if Kai actually kicked the bucket given the amount of blood everywhere, but the woman clarifies that it's not his blood. It's from Kang Sun Wu's punches. She remarks it feels like he's on a high. It's as if every muscle in his body is ripping apart. Still, Kai slowly manages to get up for round two. The VIP girl wonders why the guy is getting up yet again. Her bodyguard explains that the doping he took gives his skin a sort of armor, so Kang's hits aren't completely landing. She asks how he plans to knock Kai down. Exhausted, the redhead groans that he's never felt pain like this before. But judging by the fact Kang can barely keep his eyes open, he must be nearing his limits. Kai swears he'll wrap this up by breaking the kid's legs. But Kang surprises him, and Kai is impressed he's still moving, even at his current speed. The protagonist attacks, but Kai blocks with his forearm. Kang's punch slips down Kai's body, leaving him worried. In a brief moment of opportunity, Kai declares it's time to end this fight. They both prepare to strike at the same time. Kai wonders if his strength is fading. He can't feel his fist. He realizes Kang has been strategically absorbing the hits, preventing his skin from getting tougher. The redhead wonders why he's shaking in this situation. Kai doesn't understand. He feels his strength slip away from his fists, and dragging this out will be of no use. Then, just at the right moment, he spots an opening and declares he's going to use all his training for one final decisive low kick. The strike connects solidly with Kang's leg, catching him off guard. The protagonist is dazed by the impact, nearly passing out. Kai insists this will be the end of Kang's legs, gearing up to strike again. But the protagonist throws him for a loop with a counterattack, landing a kick on his leg. The four-eyed guy, wide-eyed in disbelief, says he blocked the low kick using his shin. Kang's leg tears apart from the clash between their blows. From the stands, a spectator exclaims that the sound of the strikes was bone-crunching. The protagonist likely fractured his leg. Kang strikes a bizarre pose in front of his opponent. He quickly realizes the dreadful condition of his leg. His muscles are completely shredded and he's immobile. Kai is already readying for another low kick, this time aimed at the kid's torso. The redhead yells that this will signify the end of everything. In a fit of desperation, the four-eyed guy screams no, but as he steps forward, Kai's leg suddenly gives way. He's left speechless, wondering what just transpired, then collapses due to shock, unable to hold himself up. When he places his hand on the ground, his arm breaks too. He screams in agony, stunned by the chaos around him, and wonders if he's dreaming because he had taken a doping that was supposed to strengthen his bones. Kang had targeted them right from the start. Finally, we see Kai on the ground, completely defeated and shattered, unable to move and in no condition to fight. But Kang Sun Wu still manages to stay on his feet after an intense battle that felt like it lasted an eternity. The vice director scratches his head and asks what on earth just went down. He explains that Kai was able to fight without a single scratch thanks to his tough skin and muscles, but inside, he was like a piñata filled with internal damage. On the outside, he looked like $1,000,000, but on the inside, his bones were taking a beating like a drum with no hands. The pain was dulled by the doping, which pushed him way past his limits, and now Kai's arms and legs are like a jigsaw puzzle, all cracked and broken. A guide drone buzzes over to the redhead and declares that with Kai out of commission, player Kang Sun Wu has snagged the victory. Upon hearing this, the protagonist erupts with excitement. The guy goes totally bonkers at the news, wondering aloud if Kang is some kind of zombie or something. The suspicious blonde guy, always with the second guessing, claims Kang is definitely hiding something. Exhausted Kang flops down on the ground. He asks his mom to hang in there just a bit longer. The same bandaged dude from earlier turns to the scientist and asks if he's positive that Kai didn't mess with any doping. Cool as a cucumber, the scientist replies that after running tests post the first round, Kai's body came out squeaky clean on the doping check. The bandaged man insists he wants the scoop on this kid's backstory. But first, they've got to dive into his family history. At the hospital, Kang's mother is bent over his father's hospital bed when out of nowhere, someone flings the door open. She says it's not a good time for visitors, but then she spots two suit-wearing dudes and asks who they think they are. Back at the arena, two medics are hauling the protagonist away on a stretcher, completely wiped out from the epic showdown. The vice director wonders whether, with all those injuries, he'll even have a fighting chance in the next round. The man replies that a physical exam is on the horizon, and during that, he plans to run a little experiment to test a secret doping scheme on Kang's body. The vice raises an eyebrow, and the man says if the kid pulls off a win in the second round with doping, Kang Sun Wu could be the ultimate contender for victory. The man inquires whether it's feasible to conduct the test, since according to the rules, if the player refuses doping, they can't do a thing. Holding a siren like it's a trophy, he says this is just a straightforward test to check if the kid's body can take the doping. If he passes, everything will be smooth sailing. The vice asks, and what if he bombs the test? With a serious tone, the man replies that if he fails, he's pretty much useless anyway, so they'll need to come up with some alternative plan. In Kang Sun Wu's recovery room, there's a capsule loaded with medical gizmos beside him. Someone approaches with a siren in hand. A man in a flashy suit cracks open the capsule where Kang is peacefully snoozing. Back in the VIP lounge, the vice mentions that the kid only has to win one more match to get into the Sweet 16. He asks if there's a match with special conditions, suggesting that one of the top 16 might be chosen based on betting action. The other guy gives him the nod. The guy then asks if he really believes that a huge pile of cash will be bet on Kang, who's currently banged up. The man insists that he didn't witness Kang winning 2 matches without doping, and no one has ever done that before. It's a fact that he reached the top 62 without any cheats, which will definitely catch the eye of the VIPs. And if he bags another win, he'll be rolling in dough. The man states that ultimately if Kang can't use doping, there's no shot at snagging the championship, and it's high time to ensure his safety. The other guy mentions that Kai is totally motivated at the moment and will do anything, even indulge in doping to rescue his parents. Seriously, the man states that if Kang is physically unable to handle doping, they'll just toss him aside in the next match. Calmly, the man adds that in case things go south, they've already set up immediate security and medical backup for his parents. Feeling a bit more at ease, the man acknowledges that even without that, Kang Sun Wu will eventually hear about his parents. Kim says that shortly a guy will swing by with the doping test results for the protagonist, and the other fellow wonders how a mere secretary from the fighting department wields so much power. With a serious face, the man says he doesn't have that much clout and is putting his life on the line by doing this. The vice director asks why he's risking everything and says it ain't for him. Kim snaps back that the director would be thrilled to kick the elder out and claim the top seat in Hashin. He claims he's doing this for himself. He wants to discover the strongest fighters in the battling world and doesn't give a hoot if he bites the dust for it. With a wicked grin, he says he could care less about others dying too. The vice director chuckles and says he digs that. Suddenly, someone bursts through the room door. It's the same fellow who had been in Kang's room. Kim quickly demands to know the results of the doping test. The suspenseful man announces that surprisingly, there wasn't even a single reaction. The man asks if it means the kid can't physically handle doping, and the other confirms with a yes. The vice director is livid and declares they must wipe all traces of Kang and cut off all aid to his family immediately. But then he quickly corrects himself, saying it would be faster to eliminate his parents altogether. In the boy's room, we see him still knocked out from the brutal fight. Back in the main hall of the fighting department, the blonde guy mentions that since they were called to the lobby, it looks like the 62 victors have been sorted. The four-eyed dude from earlier, now sporting a gigantic arm, comments that, by the way, looks like Kang is still MIA since he hasn't returned. The girl from before chimes in saying that might actually be from the intense strain of the battle. Back in the main hall, the blonde notes that since they were called to the lobby, it looks like all 62 winners have been chosen. The four-eyed guy from earlier now, with a hulking arm, quips that, by the way, it seems Kang hasn't fully bounced back yet, since he hasn't shown up. The girl pipes up, suggesting that may be a good news, everyone. The next round won't kick off until all the players are back on their feet. In a weird yoga pose, she quips that it's the perfect chance for a nap. The blonde is totally gobsmacked by her flexibility. She points out that the main character has looked like a zombie since the fighting started. The blonde mentions that for folks like Kang and herself, stepping into that ring means facing the music for any banged-up injuries. Meanwhile, the girl and the geeky guy whisked into the top 62 without so much as a scratch. And that geeky guy who finally gets his name out takes us down memory lane with a flashback of his whirlwind fight. No one saw that monstrous right arm coming. Park, looking surprised, admits even he was caught off guard by the magic trick his arm pulled. He chuckles that Amanda didn't even break a sweat since she thought her opponent was a total weakling, easily taking her down in a flash. Honestly, it was so quick, it felt like more of a magic show than a fight. Min, still scratching his head, wonders aloud how she pulled that off. He asks Amanda if she can spill the beans on her secret. She raises an eyebrow, asking if he really wants her to shout it out loud, especially since they could be squaring off at the end of the tournament. Suddenly, the light bulb goes off in Men's head. He realizes what's at stake. Right then, Menon pops up whining about being left out of the convo, reminding everyone he also won his match. And to be honest, folks think he might be a bit off his rocker. On a monitor, the boss starts his big announcement congratulating the players who clawed their way into the top 62. And guess what? They just need to snag one more win to break into the top 16. If they get through this round and hit the top 31, the top 16 will be determined by the bets placed on them. If they survive the top 16, they'll pocket 5% of all those fancy VIP bets made on them. Everyone goes bonkers, totally hyped up. To rake in more bets, players have to flex their strength in the ring. And as for injuries, he mentions that place is practically a top-notch hospital, and now they're about to roll out the matchups. At the Hashin Group building, the vice director is curious if they can rope in any candidates besides Kang, and the man nods affirmatively. Kim smugly claims that this particular fighter seems like the golden ticket, and when the vice asks who he's talking about, he reveals the protagonist's upcoming opponent. Back in Kang's recovery room, he jolts awake from the capsule hollering for his mom. His scars are all healed up. Kang exclaims, "It wasn't a dream." Something definitely grabbed his attention. He recalls a man reading a report that stated if he didn't pass the doping test, they would take out his parents. Panic-stricken, he declares he has to bolt right away. In the director's office of the fighting war, he questions if the guy there was responsible for Kang Sun Wu's doping test. With a sigh, he admits, but only after discovering something odd. The director presses for details, and he reveals Kang's bone density is 10 times the norm, like, whoa. The director is flabbergasted, saying that's just plain nuts. The guy doesn't stop there. He adds that Kang's recovery speed is like something out of a superhero flick, almost regenerative. The director is left speechless. A simple student may hold the key to unlocking human regeneration. The director muses that Kang is truly unique and asks if they're making sure his parents are safe. The scientist hesitates, apologizing, and the director raises an eyebrow at him. The man explains that by the time they got involved, someone had already taken matters into their own hands. Back in Kang's room, he's restless, jumps up, and insists he needs to get out of there, or his parents could be in peril. His temper flares as he realizes there's no way out. Throwing open the door, he shouts that he has to find a ventilation duct, and when he does, he's taken aback by the person standing there. A girl stands there smirking, saying he looks a lot better now. She introduces herself as Cha Sanjian, the VIP from before. In a rush, he asks her to step aside. She insists he shouldn't be hunting for his parents, which makes him question her motivations. Cha casually mentions that she actually has them. Kang's jaw drops when she dishes that out. Meanwhile, back at the Hashin group building in the office of the second daughter, Ches Sun-jin, the vice director and Kim are having a powwow. The vice inquires if someone's already taken care of Kang's family. Kim responds cryptically that they've vanished completely. The fight word group probably made their move first. The vice raises an eyebrow, questioning why they do that. The guy explains that they always nip potential issues in the bud before they spiral into real problems. The vice director sighs, relieved he got what he wanted without lifting a finger. He was worried about having to handle it personally. He then asks how things are going with the next fighter. Kin assures him not to worry, mentioning that fight VIP gave the green light to tweak a few small elements of the tournament. The vice digs into the topic of the monstrous fighters, and Kim comments that the VIPs are itching to see the battle, but visiting the fighting ward isn't exactly safe unless you're a VIP. Back to Kang and Cha, he demands to know what she's done with his parents. She covers his mouth, urging him to calm down and keep his voice down if he wants to keep them safe. The girl explains that running away won't do anyone any good. He retorts, asking what on earth she's going on about. Cha reveals that her former employer, the second son, Chad Yan-woo, wants to sever any ties with him, so he ordered for his parents to be taken out. And those shady loan sharks Kang dealt with, they're also on the hunt for him. She mentions that she came alone without any backup. Back with Kane and Shaw, the protagonist asks her what she did to his parents. She hushes him, saying if he wants to keep his folks safe, he needs to chill out and lower his voice. The girl explains that running away won't do him any good. He demands to know what in the world she's talking about. She reveals that her old boss, the second son, Chad Yan-woo, wants to sever all ties with him, even ordering the elimination of his parents. And those loan sharks that Kane took down, they're hunting him down too. She adds that she didn't even bring her security. Detail because she wanted to whisper so he'd better listen up. She's also concerned for his folks' safety. Kang, clearly annoyed, demands to know who she is and what she wants from him. She introduces herself as Ches Sanjian, and all she's after is the boy himself, Kang Sun Wu. The protagonist looks confused and asks what she's on about. The girl says she's one of the 16 VIPs and needs a reliable fighter. The boy is taken aback, realizing she's a VIP. Cha mentions she might be new, but she's one of the bigwigs at the Hashin group. She asks Kang if he'd believe her more if she revealed she's the vice director's younger sister. The girl explains she got booted from Hashin because of her clueless brother, but honestly, she was already plotting her exit and her business is doing great, so it's whatever. Still, she can't let two maniacs wreck her dad's company. Kang wonders how this ties into his parents' kidnapping. She says it's because two idiots and herself were keeping an eye on them, particularly that reckless second son. After seeing how tough Kang fought, she wanted to dig deeper, so she met up with his parents. Grinning, she states, "Turns out Kang is way more valuable than I thought. No way I'll let my dimwit brother get his hands on him. He's got some serious genes, and that's all that counts." The protagonist looks a bit puzzled and asks if she really just mentioned his genes. Switching topics, the girl mentions the search for Kang's parents hasn't fizzled out yet. The boy asks if staying there is so dangerous, what's he supposed to do now? With a serious tone, she declares there's only one path for him to ensure his parents are safe. He promptly inquires about that path. She quickly replies that the answer is simple victory. She mentions she's placing her bets on a fight ward champion and is drawing up a deal to take down her two older brothers, especially the second son. he'll rot in prison and become completely useless, so no threat there. As for the loan sharks, she's got money. Kang asks what sense it makes to make a deal in such a secretive place. She explains that in the fight ward, anyone who breaks a fair deal is kicked out under the place's rules. Kang wonders if she really wants to make a life or death deal with him there. She assures him he's not the only one wanting him there. Besides, the fighters who don't crack into the top 16 only fight the ward and are eliminated right away. He asks how he can be sure his parents are safe, since so far it's all just been talk with zero proof. The girl says phones and devices are banned in that place, so she can't show him anything really. Suddenly, her expression shifts, and she says, if someone has deep secret communications with his parents, wouldn't that be a solid reason to trust her, especially considering their history of reporting things about his genes? He immediately demands to know what exactly they said. Just then, the door swings open. A guide drone buzzes in. She reminds him that she's putting her life on the line to protect his dad, so there's no need for him to bolt. The guide drones announce that it's time to leave the room. She warns him not to spill any of this to anyone questioning him, and that he should just win with her. The boy feels a little pressured by that. Back in the room where Kang's crew is hanging out, Park mentions their prize rankings have shot up quite a bit. Amanda is ranked 19. Park is 22, Kim's at 28, Minan's holding down 45, and shockingly Kang is at 62, which leaves the four-eyed guy stunned. Kin speculates it's probably because he's injured, so nobody would risk betting on a guy who can't even throw a punch. Suddenly, the door swings open. The guide drone comes in with Kang, announcing that he's back in room 10. Park lights up, saying he looks way better than he expected. He notes that the boy seems to have rested a lot during that time. Then he's taken aback by the anger on the boy's face. Kang demands to know how Park managed to win without even a scratch. He insists he absolutely has to crack the top 16 for his family. He begs, willing to do anything, shouting for Park to help him. The four-eyed guy is pretty shocked by the boy's desperation. Then he asks if this is genuinely impossible. Suddenly, Amanda chimes in saying he needs to learn a special move. Kang asks her what that's all about. She explains that without a special move, it's tough to keep up with the fighters who are total monsters. Then she inquires what the boy's specialty is, but he has no clue how to respond. Park suggests he should use his shin to kick the opponent's calf, because not many can do it as smoothly as he can. And during his fight against Kai, he actually blocked a low kick from a trained fighter using his shin, so Kang should trust in that shin bone of his. Right now, calf kicks are trending more and more with fighters knocking down their opponents using them. Park encourages Kang to give a calf kick a shot, just to test it out. The boy unleashes a kick against the wall, creating a thunderous bang. This leaves Park astonished, especially at the noise it made. He declares that, as expected, the boy is a total lunatic. Suddenly, weird noises fill the air, echoing throughout the whole place. We see it's Ichario Kang's next opponent, throwing punches in the air as he trains. Park explains that if Kang knocks out his opponent with a kick, his odds of winning without breaking a sweat increase, allowing him to advance to the next round unscathed. Menon pops up behind Kang and says that has nothing to do with it. Startled, the boy asks what just happened. The redhead wonders if Park knows Kang has a secret finisher. Both Park and Kang look stunned. The boy is a lunatic. Out of nowhere, strange sounds resonate in the air, echoing throughout the entire place. It's Ichario Kang's next opponent busy training while throwing punches at the air. Park explains that if Kang knocks out his opponent with a kick, his chances of winning without a fight will soar, and he'll glide into the next round without any injuries. Suddenly, Menon appears behind Kang, saying that's not relevant. The boy, taken aback, asks what just happened now. The redhead inquires if Park is aware of Kang's secret finisher, leaving both Park and the protagonist shocked. Since they didn't have a clue, Menon, rubbing the kid's forehead, claims that the headbutt is the secret weapon because he kept blocking and countering those headbutts from a seasoned Let-Y fighter like it was nothing. And somehow, he kept on fighting without a scratch after all those punches. With a wild look in his eyes, he insists the kid has to admit he's got the toughest skull around. Park asks if he knows just how much damage a headbutt does to the poor sap who throws it. Because if he tries to headbutt the monsters in the fighting ward, Kang won't be fighting anymore. He'll be checking in with brain damage. Menon chimes in, saying, "That's one bizarre thing to say." and the guy is taken aback because anyone stepping into that ring is literally risking their life at every turn. The group is left a bit wide-eyed because if they hesitate to give it their all against the big dogs of the fight ward, they'll be squashed faster than a bug in a shoe. Park is finally realizing that the crazy dude's got a point. Menon asks if maybe they should be worried about something other than Kang at this moment. The fiery redhead mentions Park's next opponent. That's Han Men-soo, the blonde dude from earlier in the fight ward, who's outrageously strong and ranks 9th in the restricted zone. We catch a glimpse of the director looking a bit let down. He remarks that Han's body's reaction to the doping is troubling, and that bringing him in was definitely a smart move. The director nods toward the doctor's son, having a chat with a scientist in the room. A tad glum, the bespectacled man thanks the bandage-wielding director and bows in gratitude for his magnanimity. He thinks it was the right call while recalling something significant because he was out of options. We see him getting home hollering about it. He finds his son looking like a skeleton without muscle mass. And yep, that son is none other than Han Men-soo. The doctor was in despair because being just an ordinary physician, he had no clue how to help his son, who couldn't even lift himself off the ground. And just as he thought he had hit rock bottom, he received a weird message from the hospital. The guy couldn't believe he was directed to the crematory hospital. Upon arrival, he couldn't shake off the feeling of being in a completely absurd place. Men submerged in tanks of water with tubes in their faces to breathe in the spot where the director called him. There was a list flaunting various doctors and factories, famous names all around, but their motives didn't concern him. As soon as he caught sight of the doping test results going down there, he couldn't help but weep like a baby, thinking maybe there was a glimmer of hope for his son. Then the director showed up and asked what he was doing there. The director invited him to take part in the research involving the doctor's son. For a heartbeat, he nearly lost it, overwhelmed by the possibility. But with no other options, he reluctantly had to consider his son as a guinea pig for the crazies. He bolted home to grab Han. Upon arrival, he found his son shaking atop a chair, a noose hanging from the ceiling, ready to call it quits on his sorry existence. But the father stopped him just in the nick of time. The two of them in a tear-jerking moment. Han pleaded with his dad to end his suffering. There was really nothing else he could do at that moment, and ultimately he chose to team up with Fight Ward. But deep down, he always wonders if that was the right call, and if there was even a shred of an alternative. And from then on, his kid morphed into an absolute powerhouse. The guide drone announces that Han can now step into the arena. The door swings open, and in he goes. Park's already stood in the center. He states that the moment has finally arrived, revealing himself as a Krav Maga fighter. Han positions himself for battle, specifically in callous harness. The drone buzzes that the fight between Park and Han is set to begin. With absurd speed, the blonde guy launches at Park, who's caught off guard. He quickly stabs the man in the shoulder with a rapid blow. Park begins to worry about his right arm. All of Park's buddies, including Kang, are utterly flabbergasted by the lightning-fast strike. Min chimes in, noting Park probably didn't expect piercing techniques in a match like this. Han realizes he can't pull back because Park's vice grip has him tight. Then he gets Han's attention and teases him, asking if he thinks he's standing a tad too close. Then the guy raises his hand and with unbelievable strength slaps the blonde dude across the face. It just grazes him. Han dodges just in time, but the force of the slap cracks the ground. Nevertheless, the tremendous impact sends Han flying backward. Then he wonders out loud who this old dude in front of him even is. He claims that in a fight like this, those piercing techniques are mind-boggling, so he'll just have to respond with his own specialty, which also includes finger-piercing strikes. The Vice director asks how Park can fight against a rank 9 guy so easily. Kim explains he's a former bodyguard trained in Krav Maga. That piques the man's interest, and he inquires about the martial art. Kim elaborates that back in the mid-20th century, Jews faced frequent violent assaults, prompting a soldier to craft the art for defending civilians. He innovatively mixed techniques from several global martial arts, and it's particularly renowned for its efficiency in close-quarters skirmishes. The vice director questions how self-defense could possibly be offensive, ready to dismiss the idea of him being a worthy contender. Kim replies that this one's an exception, as the self-defense method means you'll do whatever it takes to squash your opponent. Back at the fight, both continue to stare each other down. The chance of him being a suitable candidate Kim states this is an exception because the method of self-defense is to do whatever it takes to eliminate your opponent. Back in the intensity of the fight, they continue sizing each other up, waiting for the other guy to make a move. Park jumps in first, aiming a punch at the blonde dude's peepers, but Han says he's way too slow, so he just sidesteps to the right and comes back with a counterstrike. Park spots it but doesn't have a split second to react. The hit connects with the left side of his head, shattering his glasses. Reflexively, Park swings back, making Han take a step back and dodge. Park charges ahead, claiming he'll catch him this time. Han muses about the guy's awkward proportions. No matter how hard he chases, it's like chasing a shadow. Park grips the ground and declares it's go time. He digs in, using his arms to catapult himself forward like a rocket. In a flash, he lands a hit on Han, who doesn't see it coming, and smashes into the wall. Luckily for Mr. Blondie, he dodges at the very last moment, letting the blow nick his cheek. While Park tries to land another hit, Han keeps dodging and remarks that it's futile. He zips to the left, gearing up for a counterattack. Han lands 2 jabs to Park's gut, who attempts to retaliate but fails miserably. Han quips that he's far too slow, and now he'll be going for his weak spots to see how well he can defend himself. Then Han unleashes a barrage of punches from every angle. Park grumbles that he can't keep up with the kid's speed. Han finishes off a perfect combo of well-placed hits. Kong, Min, and Amanda watch wide-eyed and worried about Park. Min exclaims this is the power of a rank 9, and there's probably no way to beat him. Park is still standing, but he's pretty much wrecked with 2 massive holes in his chest. Han says he's still in a fighting pose, admitting Park's got some serious endurance, and judging by how his fists look, it seems the guy's given up on fancy techniques. Unfortunately, Park lowers his guard for just a moment. Han instantly gets set to strike, declaring that not even grappling him would work. Charging in, he yells for the guy to bite the dust and goes in for the finishing blow. The blonde nails it right on Park, who's just standing there like a deer in headlights. Right after that hit, Park staggers back, clutching his belly. Min comments that Park was targeting his own solar plexus, but Amanda retorts, no, he wasn't shooting for himself. He was trying for his solar plexus. Back in the scrap, we see that Han's fingers are actually wrecked after that hit. Realizing this, Han feels a mix of worry and irritation, muttering that Park's a total nutjob, but then Park shocks him with a powerful punch. Han doesn't have time to duck. The hit lands smack in the kid's stomach, launching him like a rag doll. That punch was so intense it slammed Han into the wall, busting through it. On impact, the blonde spits out blood, looking shakily weak. Park grumbles that Han isn't someone who goes down easily and claims he needs to score another hit like that. He notes that the muscles in his right arm are shot, and it's clear as day. The man positions himself and vows he only needs to land one more, just a single hit. He lunges with everything he's got, declaring this is his final strike. He begs to land just one more in a moment of desperation, but suddenly his body seizes up from his injuries. Kang calls out to him and urges him to hold on just a bit longer. He feels like he's about to collapse. His eyelids start to droop. Park realizes he's lost too much blood and his arm is as useful as a wet noodle. He apologizes to his son, but catches himself because he's practically admitting defeat. Summoning what little strength he has left, he shouts that it's not over. He has to keep pushing. But when he opens his eyes again, he's startled to see Han standing right in front of him, ready to deliver a blow, which freaks him out completely. Even with busted fingers, it won't matter because Han reveals he's actually right-handed. His dominant hand is his right. He then delivers a bone-crushing hit to Park's chest, who is totally unreceptive to defense. Kang screams in utter horror. Park just barely gets a hand up to block, but it still gets through. Han says he appreciates the moxie, but it's all in vain because the blonde's fingers are so long. Park's heart takes a shot. He musters a final attempt to fight back, but it's no use. Park collapses to his knees, practically out of commission. Kang is left utterly stunned and doesn't know what to do next. Han glances up at the stand, screaming for Kang with a deranged look on his face, leaving the young man dumbfounded, wondering what's happening. He tells the protagonist to pay attention because the old man was going down, all thanks to Kang's lousy luck, pulling his fingers out of Park's chest. Kang is in a state of shock, utterly horrified by the sight. He remembers Park mentioning how the kid never seemed exhausted, and he just wanted a little break to chat more. Park muses that if he'd shared moments like that with his own son, maybe things would have turned out differently between them. Kang wonders if he and his dad had been close, it would have mirrored the bond he had with Park. Park reassures Kang that his father would never kick the bucket, leaving a son like him behind. He finishes by asserting that just like him, he could never die while leaving his own son in the lurch. And with that, the fight draws to a close. Park finishes the fight lifeless. The guide drone announces that Han Men-soo has claimed victory. The jerk steps on the fallen man's face and begins to laugh, saying it was anticipated all along and that this place is a riot. Kane boils with rage at the sight, his face turning beet red with fury. He leaps from the stands and his teammates can't hold him back. Han smugly remarks that this is how things ought to be. Kane storms into the arena right up to Han. The guide drones go into high alert. He could never die leaving his own son behind. And finally, the battle ends. Park finishes his fight lifeless. The guide drone announces that Han Men-soo has won the match. The jerk steps on the fallen man's face and starts laughing, declaring it was expected all along and that this place is a gas. Kane becomes absolutely furious when he sees this, his face taken over by wrath. He jumps from the stands and his teammates can't stop him. Han says this is how things should play out. Kane strides into the arena right in front of Han. The guide drones are on high alert. Min wonders why the guys aren't blasting at the kid. He casually says they only start firing if someone actually jumps into the brawl. Kang and Han share a fierce stare, and the atmosphere thickens like molasses. The main character tells him to get his damn foot off the guy. Han throws down some sass, saying if he wants it gone, then come and pry it off. Kang adopts a fight-ready pose, the drone's just waiting to fire if the kid so much as twitches. Kang suddenly leaps and throws a punch, demanding he move his foot. Han retaliates with a strike of his own. Min rushes in, saying he needs to break up the fight before it escalates, but he's soon left wide-eyed by the chaos unfolding. Minan grabs the protagonist, keeping him from striking back. Kang, fueled by anger, yells for him to let go. Minan retorts that if he wants to feel a headbutt, he better make it quick before he bites the dust. Kang begs to be released so he can fight, but the blonde dude quickly slams him down and locks his legs. The man constricts him in a chokehold, telling him he might as well catch some Z's for now. The kid starts to fade into the abyss with Han looming in front of him. He recalls Park asking if something ever happened to him, could Kang take care of his kid, because he hopes there's someone who can steer his son clear of trouble. Kang claims it's a no-brainer, leaving Park a bit puzzled. The kid mentions there's an ocean of stuff he still wants to learn from him, and that at the very least, they should buddy up. He wonders if he can keep picking Park's brain anyway. Park is taken aback by Kang's sweet nature. Jokingly, he suggests the little rascal is already scheming to use him even when he's 6 feet under. Back in the ring, Han's keeping his foot on the dude's face. Kang is out cold on the floor beside Min and Menon. That jerk mutters how it's a sight for sore eyes, mocking the main character. Amanda pipes up, stating he's already got Kang's full attention, so he might want to skedaddle now. She questions if he's that hungry for more attention and love or something. Han shoots her a death stare, asking if she wants to join Kang in the land of the dead. Pointing at the drone, she retorts that he might just bite the bullet by messing with it or with his own fists. With a wicked grin, she quips he could also get beaten down cold by her. He quickly lifts his foot off the dude and tells her to chill out. As he strolls away, he vows to wipe them all out later. Anyhow, he struts out through the door. She rushes to Park's still breathing body, confirming that, as expected, he's not dead yet. Immediately, Amanda calls for the guy with the stretcher to assist Park. She mentions that his left hand must have saved his life, since he used it to shield against the piercing, keeping it away from crucial points. The fight ward staff rushes to help the man. The Vice director comments that Han Min-soo is a total beast. He wonders how the blonde can utilize his fingers as lethal weapons like that. Kim explains that the doping he received is something else entirely. He elaborates that his enhancements bolster muscles, ligaments, and tendons to a mind-blowing degree distinct from regular strength doping. To sum it all up, he's as unique and practical as Kang, because his bones are part of the same upgrade and tougher. The Vice suggests they should snag Han for their team. Kim points out that Han Men-soo is a fighter under the director's direct management, so luring him over would be no cakewalk. But he reassures the Vice not to fret, as there are still plenty of capable fighters left in Fight Ward, including those in the next round. The Vice asks if the next match is the one with the girl who fights using capoeira. Kim nods, and the old man wonders if capoeira is really just a dance. Kim clarifies that it only resembles a dance, and when Portugal colonized Brazil, slaves used it in the quarters and while laboring. He explains it was created as a means of self-defense against the cruelties they faced while enslaved, cloaked as a dance, so the overseers wouldn't figure out they were training. He asserts it's a martial art with a grim history, and after Brazil gained independence, it became linked to many crimes. It was even outlawed by the government, making it no ordinary practice. It's dangerously aggressive. Next, we catch a glimpse of Amanda Grossi again, the 19-year-old capoeirista. The drone announces that all competitors have entered the arena. Amanda notices her opponent glancing back. This is Gohuku, the 10th-ranked fighter who dabbles in various martial arts. The drone declares that the showdown between them is about to kick off. Amanda adopts a fighting stance commonly known as Jenga. While her foe remains stationary, she comments that naturally he's underestimating her since he hasn't even bothered to take a fighting stance. As she launches an attack, she quips that this gives her the perfect chance to strike first, but the blonde dude sports a wild grin and prepares to make his move. Our video wraps up here. If you got a kick out of this, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time later, Gators. If you had a blast, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, see ya.